I'm slightly behind the times on this, but let's see what happens. Okay, right, 3603 in Union Yank. Okay, you see our Union Yank. It's interesting. Your name is Union Yank, considering the picture I have up there. But we were talking about this earlier. And yeah, I'm trying to see how you pronounce that. El Cacho Temps or something. I could not pronounce your name, but yes, you are early. You're very early. You're right in the broadcast has only been on for a few seconds, but we were talking about this earlier, and I wanted to be able to really get into it because during the earlier broadcast, there are a lot of folks that are suggesting that Black Lives Matter and Antifa were the primary culprits on January 6th. So I wanted to finish this one off just to see where the mindsets were, but I don't get it. I still do not understand why a lot of folks be outdoor 423 Trump 2024. That there's a possibility. There's a possibility. I say that there's a good chance you could get Trump in 2024, barring some of these unforeseen circumstances like what's going on with the Supreme Court. Get a job, man. You're on here 24/7. Michael, the only way you would know I'm on here 24/7 is for you to actually be on here and see me. Conservative here, but love to hear a sound liberal side of things. I appreciate that. Talk about America and NATO destroying the Ukraine. Wade 519. We could debate back and forth whether what America and NATO is doing is in the best interest of the Ukraine. But make no doubt about it, it is Russia that is destroying the Ukraine. And that's coming from the Ukrainian president himself. Do you believe the election was stolen? No, I do not. No, I do not. And I'm open-minded enough to take into consideration any type of evidence that's presented. I still have not seen 2,000 Mules, but I definitely listened to Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium and definitely what Trump presented so far. And I haven't seen any evidence that leads to that. And in fact, every video I've done on here, most of the folks that responded, it's really boils down to what's in their heart, that's leading them to believe that the election was not held properly, or it's based on things like crowd size. And that's not evidence. That's not evidence. That's just coincidental things. You know, the crowd size for Biden supporters was not as big as Trump. Okay, but crowd size does not dictate who shows up on election day. And yes, Johnny 0197. Look. This is the first broadcast we're doing on the 6th in regards to whether Antifa and Black Lives Matter were the primary perpetrators. There's a lot of folks who believe that. Eric Product Tester, you said anyone who thinks that is pure crazy. Well, there are a lot of purely crazy folks in here. You know my primary audience. You know my primary audience. I asked this on the lunch break broadcast, and there were several people, dozens of people, who do believe the primary perpetrators of January 6th was Antifa and or Black Lives Matter. So it's not coming out of left field. Okay, Black Lives Matter except black babies, says user 945. Well, if you want to suggest that blacks, let me see if I can interpret this right. It sounds like you're saying, at least in terms of the African American community, black lives seem to matter with the exception of black babies that are being aborted and then they don't care about it. I go back to my original statement that better yet, abortions, period, whether they're African American or whoever is choosing to abort their child, it's volunteer. It is volunteer. So it's not like this is being done by force. You know, you talk about abortion clinics being more heavily populated in African American communities. It's still your choice to walk in there or not. The USA is down the drain because of Biden. Outdoor 423, I'm not a fan of what President Biden is doing for this country right now. I'm a liberal with buyer's remorse on President Biden. I'm willing to admit that I think Trump was running the country better, but I am not so far out of the loop to suggest that the United States is down the drain because of Biden. I don't think that we're in any situation that a more knowledgeable, more effective leader couldn't get us out of. What you're suggesting is that we are trash and we're in an unrecoverable state. There's no way I'm going to believe that. Trump for jail. says Heather Livingston. I said the same thing in regards to Hillary Clinton and Hunter Biden. Folks at this level, they do not get locked up. Even if they're guilty, folks at this level, this amount of eliteness, if there's a word, eliteness, these are the elitist of the elite. Trump is not going to go to jail. Not going to do a single day. Keith Hobbs says, yeah. So you believe that Antifa and Black Lives Matter were the primary culprits on January 6th. Am I getting that correct? Trump in, William Roberts says, 460 says, Trump in 2045. Damn, shout out to Betty White. Will he still be around that long? 28 code US 1507, look it up. I'm unable to look it up right now, crazy, but 28 code 15, okay. Hillary won in 2016. Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Hillary lost as far as I'm concerned. Jatemi Paris, welcome back. Flags, hats, shirts, conspiracies, rallies, accepting everything. I'm tired of the Trump code. Tell us how you really feel. Sass for real, dude. No, Biden has forgotten more about how to run a country than Trump ever dreamed of. He forgot it pretty damn quick. He was just VP, 8 years ago? Eddie Murphy gaps went out in the 1990s. Okay. Well, I guess if you're looking at me and suggesting that the gap I have, which is your comment, Eddie Murphy gaps went out in the 1990s. Well, you're actually more in, because a man looking at another man is now the thing. So welcome to the LGBT crowd, but I identify as heterosexual. Appreciate the comment. He's guilty, says Heather Livingston. Okay. What is your stance on police? SK, was it Snyder or SK Ender? I believe police are necessary in a civilized society to keep society civil. You see my sign right there behind here, right on my left shoulder there. I'm an advocate for police. I certainly believe that if you do have some type of impropriety by a law enforcement official, they should be held accountable. But no, I don't believe in just going around and saying things like all cops are bad or any of that stuff. I don't support that. You can receive other medical treatment and care at Planned Parenthood. Linda, the folks who are anti-abortionist stance, they are anti-Planned Parenthood as well. But I do agree with you. Stop appeasing these corrupt racist fools. January 6th was all Trump cult members. Shay Slay. I make it clear. This is a no snowflake zone. Free speech is paramount here. But I'm not in the camp that every MAGA member is racist. There's a lot of legitimate reasons to vote Republican, vote conservative, vote MAGA that have nothing to do with racism. And it's not about appeasing anyone. I want to hear the folks. I want to speak to the folks. I want to hear the opinions. Do you believe Black Lives Matter and Antifa were the primary culprits on January 6th? That's what we're asking here. We should pray for Biden, even as a conservative. I want him to succeed so America succeeds. Valhalla 3737. I asked that question on here. That was one of the shows we had, one of the broadcasts, and the question was, is the GOP rooting for Biden to fail? My overall take of that broadcast was, they're not in the camp of President Biden. And a lot of them rebutted that folks did not root for Trump to succeed either when he took office. There are a lot of MAGA folks who believe that the day Trump got elected, the Democrats never gave him a chance. Now, they obviously exclude all of the heckling Trump did with the Obama presidency because they were in favor of that. But it would be difficult to look back from 2008 to 2016 and suggest that Trump actually gave the Obama presidency a chance. He didn't do it either. So they've been doing this back and forth for a while. Now, Trump is the most corrupt Heather, you are on point today. You hardcore tonight. We're in a recession, says Crazy Mike. Yeah, we've been in a recession before, though. Why is inflation Biden's fault? Please tell me. Grass-fed. Inflation is Biden's fault because he was too eager to get us off of fossil fuels and get us onto alternative energies. He started switching things over, and we do not currently have the infrastructure or technology in place to switch over completely to alternative energies. This is why you heard folks like Kamala Harris suggesting that you should just go out and buy a $60,000 electric vehicle. Most people can't afford that. So by him switching us from fossil fuels to alternative energies, this led and limiting drilling, pipeline, things of that nature. All of this led to an increase of price at the pump. And obviously, if you pay more for fuel, everything that is shipped via truck, trains, and planes is going to go up in price. That's a lot to do with your inflation right there. Buyers are more so Biden. Yeah, Cloud Swarm, I can't say his name right, has moved the globalist agenda up. Julie Sullivan, I don't know what that one is. The Defiant one, I'm very well aware of 2000 Mules. I get it on every single broadcast. I'm well aware of it. Trump is 100% better off with Biden. Trump is 100% better off with Biden. I don't get that comment. Much respect. Appreciate that. Trent Jones, appreciate that. If it was trumpets that attacked the Capitol, we all know it, Dems or Republicans. Well, there's a lot of folks in here suggesting that Antifa and Black Lives Matter was responsible. So, what's up, man, Junior? Hey, what's up? Let me scroll forward. I'm kind of behind in the comments. Let me catch up. Oh, man, you guys are... Globalist agenda equals a crazy conspiracy theory. Jimmy Paris, until I see something else, as far as I'm concerned, it does look conspiratorial, but let's see what happens. I haven't seen it. Don't you think there should have been something in place? Wait a minute. Colleen Hoover, don't you think there should have been something in place before taking it away? Before taking what away? I have to ask that. What are you talking about in regards to fossil fuels versus alternative energies? What do you mean? Because in that case, I would say the answer is yes. We should have been far stronger in the development of alternative energies before we start trying to switch from fossil fuels. Right now, a lot of the GM Corporation, I think they suggested that as of 2025, they're going to make all electric vehicles. We're not ready for that yet. And GM, General Motors, may pay a price for that. 2025, what is that, 3 years from now? We're not ready for that. Barrel prices went down, but not at the pump. Okay. Trump is the future, says Jay Lawson. Look, the guy got 4 more fucking years left. That's it. The man will be 78 when he becomes president, if he becomes president in 2024. He's not the future. It's not that fucking far into it. He might get a second term. Appreciate that hat there. Definitely appreciate that. Much love to that. He may actually win again. That's quite possible. But as far as him being a future, you're going way too far with that. This is not a country where you can run you can have multiple terms or any of that. So I'm not in the camp of saying Trump is the future. That's going way too far. Dude, just send me a request. I put. So let's try that. For you, 5 minutes, I'll put you on, but you got to send a request so I see you down there. Real Trucker Jeff. Good evening.
Hey, Handsome Liber, how we doing? Evening.
I'm doing real good. What's going on
tonight? Multitasking. Good. You know, when you were on this afternoon, I was mentioning John Sullivan, who you're not familiar with, apparently.
From Fox News? Oh yeah, I'm absolutely. He's one of him and Tom Sullivan invited me out to the Fox News studios back in 2015.
No, I wonder if I got the wrong name.
Tom. Wait a minute. No, wait. You're talking about somebody. I'm thinking about Tom Sullivan from Fox News. No, who is John Sullivan?
No. The reason I'll tell you, he's the reason why I say Antifa was involved in 1/6, right? And I kept typing his name. I think you missed it, and you haven't heard of the guy, but
no.
The video from the Ashley Babbitt getting shot. He took that video. He sold it. He sold it to, I think, Washington Post or something like that. One of the mainstream outlets. He sold it to them, right? Well, he's a known quantity. He's an Antifa guy. He's been picked up at other Antifa riots, right? So there's also video of him, and I'm not saying that Antifa, I'm not saying that this was this is bigger than an Antifa event, right? But he was there. There's video of him. He's talking to people. I don't know how many. It's the video is of him, so I don't know if he's talking to 2 people or 20 people or whatever. I don't know how many people he's talking to, but he's rallying them to break into the Capitol. They're putting on their flag, the red, white, and blue garb, right? And then they head off to the Capitol. There's another video of him after he's broken in, and he basically admits that they broke windows to get in, right? But then he kind of cleans it up a little bit after that. But there's video of this guy who is an Antifa guy. He was with his buddies. He went in, his buddies went in, and he got the video of Ashley Babbitt. So you can't see that there was no Antifa involvement. There was clearly, I've seen the videos.
Okay, let me ask you this question based on if you had to give your honest opinion. What in regards to those who were in the Capitol building, we're not talking about the peaceful protest on the line. We're talking about those who were in the Capitol building, actively rebelling, going into Nancy Pelosi's office and things like that. The majority of that crowd, do you think the majority of that crowd was Antifa and Black Lives Matter or Trump supporters?
Trump supporters. The majority of those were Trump supporters. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But also by the same token, I think that at least some of the violence was FBI people, because here again, there were people that were, you have Ray Epps. Have you heard of Ray Epps?
No, I have not.
Okay, he's a guy that even Republicans have said, who is this guy and was he working for the FBI? And the 1-6 committee, they denied it, but they didn't bring him in and they didn't swear him in or anything. They don't have they didn't get testimony from him. Okay, but so he's running around talking to these people. There were people with knit hats, these red caps with 45s on them, right? And they were committing acts of violence. There's probably at least a dozen of them committing acts of violence. They didn't arrest any of them. None of those people got arrested, right? So there's more there than meets the eye.
Well, like I was saying on the earlier broadcast, here's what I don't like is the fact that you had all of the Republican Senate, all of the Republican Congress, and Mike Pence there, who had his life being threatened. I'm not talking about liberals, just all Republicans. And all of the information that leads away from Trump supporters and suggesting an Antifa or MAGA is coming from average citizens, most of them that were not there that day. I have to ask you this question. Why do you believe that the Republican Senate, the Republican Congress, and even Mike Pence, whose life was threatened, why do you believe none of them are suggesting that Antifa or Black Lives Matter played any significant role that day, considering that they were there on the ground?
Well, I think it's a uniparty. I think they're all just looking out after their own self-interest. Now, the thing is, so let's say that so I believe that the election was stolen, right? So if the election was stolen, it couldn't have been done by one party. It has to have been involvement on both sides. So, and also think about what 1-6, who did it benefit, right? Because what it did when those people broke in, it shut down. They were starting to present evidence of why people wanted certain states decertified. That stopped, right? So it took the opportunity for Americans to see why there were concerns that pulled it right off of their television sets. That was the major outcome of what 1-6 did. People didn't get to see the argument for what concerns about the legitimacy of the election.
You're still kind of breaking it, but let me say this, okay? I asked you why do you not think any of the Republicans that were there actually suggested that Antifa or Black Lives Matter was involved, and you said because they're all one unit party. So let me follow up and ask you this: there were 400 or so protesters charged with various crimes, and out of those 400, not one of them in court has testified it was not us, it was Black Lives Matter or Antifa. Why do you think that none of these actual citizens that were arrested, whereas it would be in their benefit to pull a Shaggy? It wasn't me, like Shaggy says in the song. Why would none of them? Why has none of them who also were there and on the ground that day? And it would actually be to their benefit to say it wasn't us MAGA, it wasn't us Trump supporters, it was Black Lives Matter or it was Antifa. Why have none of the arrestees claimed that?
Well, I think the people that were charged did what they did. You know what I mean? I don't think you can say I didn't do it. When you're on video, they see that you did it. Like if you broke into the Capitol building and there's video of you walking across the the tile, well then you're guilty. You did that. Or if you broke a window or did whatever they did.
Okay. even if they are guilty, though, this is the perfect time to snitch on Black Lives Matter or Antifa. You're going to tell me MAGA has a good chance to point out shit that Antifa or Black Lives Matter was involved in, and they're not going to say anything, even though they were right there with them?
I'm not sure that would have helped. I don't know that would help. And here again, I don't know that they were right together, because you can see, like I said, from the video I've seen of John Sullivan, him and his people broke into a window together. They weren't with the MAGA people. They broke in. His people broke into a window and they came up. And you see where they entered, where they sort of joined where the MAGA folks were, and then Ashley Babbitt was shot. So they weren't necessarily shoulder to shoulder with these people.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking you all of this stuff is because the vast majority of people, and I've had several broadcasts on this, and obviously we've all talked to lots of people about this, including you guys in the audience. Everybody that I'm hearing that states that MAGA or Black Lives Matter were primary culprits in this event were actually not there that day. Now you're talking about Antifa with John Sullivan. Do you believe Black Lives Matter was also there that day? Because you haven't said anything about Black Lives Matter.
I don't know how much. I think that's a distinction without a difference. And I think Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Look at the. I put this in a comment today too. If you look at the arrest photos of the Black Lives Matter when they were rioting and they went into black neighborhoods, they're burning down black businesses and all that stuff. If you look at the arrest records, those are mostly white people. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily a difference between the participants and Antifa and Black.
Okay, we could take your example if you're trying to say that there's no difference between Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and say that there's no difference between those who support the Confederate flag and the Klan, because the Klan wears the flag. I'm just simply saying, if you want to conflate folks like that, you could easily say that, so that everybody who's walking around with the Confederate flag, you can say that's the Klan. And I can show you hundreds of pictures, literally hundreds of pictures with the Klan. I believe they actually have a Confederate flag as a patch on their uniform. So I'm just simply saying, if you do it like that, understand it could happen in reverse.
Well, sure, but what I'm trying to say is that these Antifa people who are, they're anarchist communists. I think they really infiltrated Black Lives Matter protests and created a lot of the violence. I think that if there were, I think that if Black Lives Matter were able to segregate themselves from these people that I believe are Antifa, I think I think people would have a better opinion of Black Lives Matter today if they were able to push those people to the side.
Something, and I've heard that before. To me, it's very similar to, and I can't say what's in somebody's heart, but this is just the way I would analyze it. And somebody asked me, why am I a liberal? I'll respond to that after this. But I will say this, in regards to what you said, if Black Lives Matter could separate some of that stuff, they might be taken more seriously. In my opinion, if you're protesting something and a vast majority of the people do not agree with the cause you're protesting, they're not going to take you seriously. It would be like women protesting to be allowed to have abortions in the third trimester. There is no right way to protest that. And that's like the same thing with Colin Kaepernick. I take him seriously if he protests the right way. Well, if you don't believe the police are mistreating black people, then no matter how he protested, you're not going to agree with. You don't agree with the core message. So when you say that Black Lives Matter will be taken more seriously if they separate from, if you don't believe there's a such thing as, say, what do Black Lives Matter complain about? They say police racism, they talk about systemic racism, they believe that's a case, they believe white privilege. Whether you believe it, whether I believe it or not, I'm just simply saying, if you don't believe that stuff is a real issue, it does not matter how they protest, that you're not going to listen because you don't adhere to their core message. So it doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that, because I think with a group like Antifa, what they do is take advantage of crowds to be able to become violent. You know what I mean? So if there's a way to them from turning a protest into a riot, then even if you don't agree with Black Lives, and I don't support Black Lives Matter Inc. You know what I mean? I try here in
Neither
Philadelphia.
do I. Neither do I. I
I
don't
know.
support Black Lives Matter Inc. either. Neither do I.
You know, there's a local group in Philadelphia, and because I'm seeing this stuff, like people getting shot, black men getting shot by police, and me, I deal with police all the time. So I'm like, okay, I'm a truck driver. I'm on the road all the time. I constantly see police. So I went to the local organization in Philadelphia because I wanted to talk to these guys and say, look, I understand, like it's an irritation, but you have to understand that the cops are going to be nervous. You want to de-escalate yourself, put your hands where you can see them. I wanted to give them the pointers on how I deal with police interactions that I have on
Okay.
the
All right.
interstate, right?
Let me.
But
Okay.
they tried to direct me to all this different stuff. I'm like, they didn't want to hear that. They wanted me like, well, what about trans women and all that? I'm like, I don't give a crap about that. I'm trying to tell you
Okay,
how
let
not
me.
to die.
Okay,
You know?
okay. Let me respond to a couple comments, and I'll follow you up with that. First, Dean Sturgeon, you asked me. Listen, you're going to look over my comment, but I will say this: Black Lives Matter is political. You're correct. Of course, they're political. That's the only way they're going to get their message done. Martin Luther King was political. If you don't work with the politicians, you're not going to succeed. The politicians are the ones at the end of the day that get the laws changed. So, of course you're going to be political. At this point, Planned Parenthood is political. Now, somebody also asked me, why do I call myself a liberal? And it's because I support liberal tenets. Like, I support criminal justice reform. I I am pro-choice. You know, I support the minimum wage increase. I believe that there should be some form of additional schooling or tuition. I mean, I come up with a whole host of things, but at the same time, I also support the police. I believe in self-reliance and things like that. I'm a pew pew guy, so I'm on both sides to some degree. But in regards to what you suggested about and not giving them real trucker Jeff from talk to police and not giving you in regards to what you're suggesting about de-escalating the situation, I agree with that 100%. However, this is one thing I do not understand. When you get pulled over, and the average American citizen is unarmed when they're driving, despite all of the guns in this country. Most Americans that get pulled over do not have a gun in their car. So my question is, why do we depend on the unarmed citizen to convince the dude with the gun standing behind him that has tactical advantage that guy is the guy that needs to be felt like he's safe? He has a gun, he has tactical advantage, but the unarmed guy has to convince him that he's no danger to him. I never could understand that. I just never
Well,
could because go ahead.
I, I would just say because he is the guy with the gun. You're not going to do something to that guy that's going to end his life or even harm him. If he even thinks he's going to be in a bad situation, he's got a bunch of other guys he can call on the radio to show up, right?
Right.
The reason is because it's in your best interest, right?
But
It doesn't
if
make any
they
sense. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't
no,
matter that it
no,
doesn't make sense.
no, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's almost as if when the police approach the car, we're told to keep our hands at 10 and 2, don't make any sudden movements. It's almost as if the police, even though they carry a firearm and got infinite backup, it's almost like they're eating a gazelle taking a drink at a pond in the middle of Africa. So why are they so afraid? I mean, literally, most of the killings between police and citizens, even though I'm not saying the police go around killing everybody that doesn't need to be killed. So I'm not trying to blame police as far as the shootings, but overwhelmingly, when it comes to a gunfight between the citizens and police kill far more citizens than citizens kill police. Why are they so afraid of the citizens? I don't understand that. You're approaching this guy from the rear over his shoulder. You have a gun. Why does he have to freeze and all of this stuff when you clearly have tactical advantage and you're certainly armed? Why does he have to
Yeah.
convince you that you're in no danger?
No, I'm not sure that the police have tactical advantage in that situation. Look, I carry things in my truck that are right down next to my seat. I have weapons all over my truck. I've got weapons everywhere in this truck.
Well, wait,
You
wait,
know what I
wait.
mean? I can
Let
take
me
you out a
stop you.
bunch of different ways.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you. If you are approaching someone, and most folks are right-handed. You're approaching someone from the left side. When you're in the driver's seat, they're generally approaching you from behind on your non-dominant side. How could you say they don't have tactical advantage? They're coming at you from behind. You can't even clearly see them, and they're looking directly at your back. How could you tell me? And oftentimes, if it's at night, they got a spotlight on you as well. How could you tell me they don't have tactical advantage?
If
You
well, I can
you
tell you about
stuck.
things that I hid. I can tell you things about things that I hid from police without them knowing it back when I was a bad guy. You know what I mean? You can do plenty of stuff that the cops can't see when they can't really see your hand. They can't see where your arms are necessarily. You can do a lot of shady stuff. You know what I mean? If you don't make it look obvious. So a cop is always going to be and like I said, in my truck, like I said, if I wanted to harm you, if you came up and climbed up on my steps and I wanted to bash your brains in, I could do it in about 2 seconds. You'd be done.
Okay, all right, that's all fine and good that if you're a savvy citizen, you may be able to hide stuff in your car and you may be able to do things. But remember, he's standing out in the open with a firearm. He clearly can do things. He doesn't even need to be savvy. Even an untrained person with a firearm, from that tactical advantage, that tactical vantage point, is able to do all sorts of things because he's approaching you from behind. You got to be fairly savvy in that car because, as we know, in a gunfight, a car is a coffin. He's out, he's free to roam around and everything. Why do you got to convince that man that you're not the dangerous one when he's clearly in the position to cause the most danger?
Well, true, but I mean, potentially you could have a firearm behind your back or next to your seat, places where he's not going to see it if he's coming up from behind you.
So
What you were
I get what you're saying, but what you were essentially saying is that the citizens should trust the cops, but the cops should not trust the citizens. The citizen might be dangerous, it might be hiding something or whatever, but when the cop is approaching you from behind with a gun, you should just automatically assume that everything he's going to do is in your best interest. And that's where I think the issue is that we're seeing enough cops doing things that some folks don't feel that way. This is a man with a gun approaching me from behind. Just because he got a badge doesn't mean he's going to be on my best interest. I'm not saying that the cops are bad. I'm just simply saying that is the mindset. Whereas the cops are essentially treating you as a threat into proven harmless, but you're supposed to view them as harmless until proven a threat. And I think that mindset needs to change.
I think, well, I mean, for me, I don't assume that the cop has my best interests at heart. I don't think he's certainly not coming to help me or do anything good for me. I don't believe that. So I look at them as that's a problem that I need to extricate myself from that situation without any harm coming to me.
Well, let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase it because you said you don't assume that the cop has your best interest. If you thought the cops were a genuine danger to you, you would never let an armed man approach you from behind on your non-dominant side. And here's what I'm saying: the cops will not allow you to approach them that way because they don't think you have their best interest at heart. If you tried to approach a cop like that and you were armed, legally carrying, because you can carry openly in most states, they would never let you approach them from their non-dominant side with a gun in their hand like that. So, like I said, we're expected to trust them when they're making it clear they don't trust us. I think that's a legitimate point to be made, regardless if you think cops are doing their job or not. I'm just simply saying that, yeah, they don't give us the trust that they expect from us.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. But I don't think there's any way to change that either. I think
No,
that's
it's
a
not.
fact. I think it's reality. I don't think it can change. But you know, you wouldn't let a person approach you. You know, you wouldn't let somebody, if you have see somebody out of the corner of your eye, you have even a feeling that somebody is going to come up on you and maybe rob you or whatever. You're going to go into a defensive mode. But if you go into that defensive mode with police, then you're going to get shot. You're going to get
Yeah,
shot.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
You know,
I'm not disagreeing.
his
I'm not.
buddies are going to come and shoot you. You know what I mean? Somebody's
I'm
going to
not
shoot you.
disagreeing. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just simply saying when you have a relationship with the public, which is I don't trust you, but you need to trust me. I would say, in my opinion, you should expect some friction, because that's not a good relationship to
Yeah.
have. Where, yeah, and that's the
Oh,
current. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and like that's why it's such a precarious situation, because a cop, in my experience, they are always when they approach the vehicle, they always are they are on edge and they're ready to react. So you, as the person, you have to know that, that it can unwind really in a hurry. So that's why, slow movements, listen to their, talk to them, make sure that you have a clear understanding that, hey, I just want you to, if you're gonna write me a ticket, get me out of here, whatever. You know what I mean? But you have to
And
have
that's
a
what
meeting of the minds.
exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be that way. Where you gotta, as an unarmed citizen, potentially, you gotta keep reassuring an armed man that you're no danger to him. It's literally like the gazelle telling the lion, "I don't mean any harm." The gazelle is trying to gently walk past the lion, like, "I'm not trying to harm you." It makes no
Yeah.
sense at all. That you gotta let the why are cops so damn scared? And I think that if you got some of that out of there, things might actually go better, because yeah, there are cops out there that make mistakes simply because they are afraid to be on duty. But look, I'm gonna let you go ahead and wrap it up. I got somebody else trying to get
What,
in.
what
So
what yeah, one last thing though. What we also we're doing and there again, I'm a conservative, but I think that liberals would probably agree with me. We are choosing the wrong type of people to get into police work in the first place. If you're one place that goes straight into the police department, are people that came back from war. If you're out there
yeah,
going out, if your job was to go out and
yeah.
fight in a war, and now you're going to come back and put on a badge and you're out on the streets, and you don't have the right capacity as a human being. You're not you That's exactly the wrong people to go into police work.
I agree with that 100%. And C Skip 84 said, "Don't break the damn law of Jesus." The stuff we're talking about, you don't have to break the law
Okay,
to
okay, I'm going to jump out of it. Let me make one last point though. Talking about don't break. Now, I was one of those people. I'm a white guy, right? And for the majority of my life, that was my attitude. What changed about my attitude was when people started holding phones. Everybody got a phone, and you could see with your own eyes things that people captured on video, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe they just did that to that man. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That really
yeah.
turned my head around. When you don't see it, you can't imagine what actually happens to people when they have involvement with police. But I don't think there's any excuse for somebody to say, "Oh, don't break the law," when you can see people have on video people being violated by police. I think that I don't think that's a fair statement at all. Right?
I don't even
Uh,
have anything to follow. That was exceptionally well said, and that's all I'm saying. And see, he followed up by saying there's always perspective for sure on both sides. No, there's not always perspective. We all know this already, that if you get pulled over and you start talking shit to a cop, that cop is generally going to escalate that. You might get a few extra tickets, you might get your car towed, or you may actually meet some unsavory activity. And talking shit is protected under the First Amendment, free speech. We all know this will happen. So it's not like this is some kind of pretend shit. We just have been giving cops the right to violate people in certain ways. As long as we think they're kind of bad, then we really don't care that their rights have been violated. And the cops know that. So when they do violate somebody's rights, the first thing they try to do is convince you the person is bad. They call it dirtying up the person. I mean, we know this. This is nothing secret. What did Chris Rock joke about? If you run from the cops, they're going to bring an ass whooping with it. We know they do this stuff. I don't understand why people play dumb, but I do agree with you, Jeff, is that I give Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs from Apple, I give him all the credit because before
sure.
2007, yeah, folks always go, well, why all of a sudden are people having problems with the police when they never did? No, they always complained he was falling on deaf ears. When Steve Jobs invented the iPhone or brought America the iPhone, he essentially put a movie studio in the hands of every American. And even folks like yourself, your mind started changing when you could actually see the images as opposed to some criminal showing up at the police station saying, I got beaten. Well, you're a criminal. Look at your rap sheet. Nobody believes you. But now when he can hold his phone up and say,
Absolutely.
look at this video, it's like, well, George Floyd is a perfect example. George Floyd, or even Rodney King, when you look at their rap sheets, George Floyd's rap sheet was as long as a CVS receipt. Without any video, he's going nowhere. He would have just been a disruptive guy that died while resisting. That's it. But when you see the video, there's no denying that, regardless of how bad this guy was, what's happening in this video is wrong. So without the video, George Floyd's death would have been unpunished.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
All right.
So all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and move on because I got somebody trying to get in.
Right on. Good talk.
Hey, always a pleasure.
Okay, the one and only brings it every night.
Great, no chaser, doesn't play around. Harris, Jordan, tell me what I'm getting wrong tonight, sir.
First things first, I need you to follow me back so I can send you those links. I'm working on a few videos to send you.
Will do.
I have a link that's waiting for you once you follow me back. It's John Sullivan, who admits on camera that he supports Antifa. He is a member of Antifa. He supports Black Lives Matter. He was the one that was filming inside, one of the ones that was filming inside the Capitol. His brother is the one that turned him in because he said that he knew what he was going there for, and it wasn't for the Republicans. It's exactly what his brother said.
Okay, you're saying you're basically backing up what Jeff was saying before you. Let me ask you this question. I'm asking you the same question I asked him. Out of the group that was in the Capitol building, causing chaos or whatever the hell you want to say, peacefully touring the building, whatever words you want to, out of the folks that were inside of the Capitol building, do you think that crowd was mostly Antifa, Black Lives Matter, or Trump supporters?
No, I think it was mostly Trump supporters, and I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is, you've been consistently saying that there is no proof that Antifa or Black Lives Matter were there, and that's just flat out false. There's plenty of proof, but certain people in the media are not calling it out.
Oh, good. And that's fair. That is a fair point, because I posted a video on my page of one of the entrances where Capitol Police did let some folks in there. But I will say, in regards to folks being dishonest, if you talk to the left, everybody that went in the Capitol building broke in and nobody was let in. If you talk to the right, they all were let in and nobody broke in. So you do have to realize both media outlets have an agenda, and neither one is completely telling you the truth.
Okay, so like I said, I'm working on a few videos. I have to kind of string them all together, and then I'll send it to you. But like, there's a video of a guy literally standing on the steps right next to the Capitol, and there's like 6 or 7 police officers in full riot gear, and they're standing next to the side of a building. And the guy runs up to him and he goes, "What are you doing?" He's all, "Where's your backup? Why aren't you calling anybody?" He's all, "This is our Capitol. This is our building. Why aren't you protecting it? Like, what are you doing?" If you have called for backup and nobody showed up, then that obviously shows that those higher ups want this to happen. He's like, "This is ridiculous. This is our Capitol building. Please do something. Stop these people."
Okay, so let me ask you, please send it. And by the way, folks, any of you guys who have anything interesting you want to send, or you hear me saying something you think is bullshit, on my profile, you just click on my name above, and my email address is right there. Feel free to send me. You can send me any damn thing. I've had Ukrainians send me actual war footage, so you can send me anything. Right. And if I think it's valid, we'll talk about it. But let me ask you another question that I asked Jeff. Why is it that none of the Republican senators, Congress, or for the most part, even the protesters, why is it that none of them claim that Antifa or Black Lives Matter was there doing that?
They have. If you look
Republican senators and congresspersons have?
Yes, they have.
Give me a name.
If you look at like people, if you look at Republican press conferences, right after that, they called it out. They flat out said, "Yes, we are aware of facial recognition from the FBI that said that there were Antifa in the crowd. There are BLM representatives in the crowd," and they flat out said, "We're not saying they started it. We're just saying that they were there."
That's not. I'm asking for a name. You're saying a Republican senator or a Republican congressperson said that. Give me a name. That should be pretty easy. It's only a few of them, only a few hundred.
Well, Meadows was one of them. I know he was the chief of staff at the time, but I do believe Mark Meadows was one of them. Um, I can't remember his name. He's a representative from Missouri. Damn it, I can't remember his name right now. He's a representative from Missouri, but he called it out. He said, he goes, it's one of the well-known Antifa members. He was there. We saw them, and here's the question I kind of have on that is, how did the Democrats know that they weren't there? Because they were all running and hiding. So how do they know that they weren't there?
I'm not even trying to throw the Democrats' statements at, I'm not even pretending like what they said is fact or not. I'm not even defending them. I'm using Republicans. I'm saying folks like Mike Pence and all of them. Why didn't they say it? Because the Democrats obviously would have an agenda, and I understand that anything I say in favor of the Democrats, you're going to dispel it as an agenda. So I'm trying to be fair and not even use them. I'm sticking to the Republicans.
I think Mike Pence has shown that he doesn't really stand exactly for what he believes in, because he was on tape saying that he did think that the election was not done fairly. He thinks that there were multiple cities where the voting process was run incorrectly, and then when it came down to it, he had no spine, he had no backbone, and he ran with the current narrative.
Well, in Chris Christie's book, which I don't know where the hell I put it at, but I always use his book because this book is excellent. This is Republican Rescue. In his book, he states that Mike Pence actually did, when he was told by Trump, you can actually stop this election from being certified. He actually made phone calls and called around and was told, no, you cannot do this. And here's another aspect. Chris Christie says he believes that if Trump wins again, or if Trump runs again in 2024, according to Chris Christie, he believes that Mike Pence may have single-handedly saved Trump's chances for potentially being reelected again. And what he means by that, he said if Mike Pence had done what Trump wanted, and that is to overturn the election, and it went to court, and the court said that Trump overturned the election and that was improperly done and not constitutional, it would have been a crime and he would have been prevented from ever running again. So according to Chris Christie, he probably saved Trump, because now he's giving Trump a second chance. Mike Pence probably saved Trump, because at the end of the day, if you look at things the way they are now, and we have plenty of time to Monday morning quarterback because it's been over a year ago. We have time to look back, and we can see that as of now, Trump has not presented significant proof to show that there was enough that would have overturned the election in his favor. He has still not been able to prove that. So my guess is by now this stuff would have been in the courts and Trump would have lost, saying that he won by a landslide. Even you, I even asked you that. You personally, on a previous broadcast, you believe that the integrity of the election was not held properly. But I asked you, when Trump said he won in a landslide, do you think he was right to say? Even you said no. There's no proof of that.
I do believe he won in a landslide. The only reason I said no was because I have previously been banned for saying that.
Okay. Okay. So well, let me.
I was trying to, but here's what I'm saying, is Richard Nixon, the first time he ran for president, right? There was a lawsuit over the electoral votes in Hawaii. Okay, January 6th of that year, when they were in the Hall of Congress and they were counting everything, he was outright prepared to turn in the votes that made him president, because there was a lawsuit that said that the votes were counted improperly in Hawaii. And literally within 5 minutes of those Hawaii votes being counted, the Supreme Court came down with a decision that said that he had to present the other electors that made him lose the election. He was absolutely prepared, because the court even said, although it is within his constitutional power and ability to turn in a separate set of electors if he does not feel the electors in that state were duly elected, the court ordered him to use the other electors.
Okay, let me interrupt. By the way, 11 Butterflies and all of you folks that are talking about 2,000 Mules, I promise you, I am going to watch that. and it's so
Yeah,
high
I've
on
only
my
watched a
list.
few clips of it, and it seems pretty interesting so far.
Okay, and
Like
it,
stuff that
from
even
what
I
I
didn't
can
know, and I
hear,
was like,
okay, again, from what I can hear, it sounds interesting. But let me say this in regards to what you just said about the election and the idea that Trump won by a landslide. The problem I have is this: we're assuming that all of the cheating, if there was cheating or improprieties that took place, were in states that liberals won. I say this on every broadcast because this is where I have the problem when you say Trump won. How do we know the election in Texas was held 100% fairly? We never did any kind of investigation. Florida,
they
Montana,
did.
Wyoming. So there's no way you can say that Trump won by a
They did
landslide
a
when you
they
hold
did
on,
an
hang on a
audit
second.
in Texas.
Hold on a second. Hold on. They didn't audit the states Trump won. They just
Yes,
assumed
they
those were
did.
all accurate. They didn't
Yes, they
audit
did.
Texas.
Yes,
Oh
they
my
did.
God. Okay. All right. Well,
I'm
Trump.
sorry that you didn't know that, but they did.
Okay. Well, they
I'm not
audited
lying to you.
Georgia.
That is a
Okay.
fact.
Wait
They
a minute. Wait a
audited
minute.
Texas.
Okay. They audited Arizona too, and you don't believe that, right?
Did you read the document that they put out from that
You're
audit in
not.
Arizona?
Did you read the documents that Arizona put out? Arizona
Yes.
audited their state, so you're
Yes.
picking and choosing. You're picking and choosing which
No,
audit you
I'm not.
believe. Okay, so the audit in Georgia, was that not right? They did a recount in Georgia multiple times. Was that one wrong?
What did the audit say in Georgia?
It said that Trump lost. It said that Trump lost in Georgia.
Okay. How did they audit Georgia?
They did multiple recounts in Georgia.
Okay. How did they recount the votes?
Listen, I don't. What happened
This
to
is the
states' rights?
hang on.
What?
This is the
No. Let me
problem.
let me
No, no,
finish.
no, 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 no.
You're not. You're not.
You're gonna ridicule
You're
the
asking
logic.
questions.
You're gonna
You're asking
ridicule the
questions.
logic. Right, you're gonna
You're
ridicule the
asking questions.
logic.
No.
You're asking a
Okay.
question and you're
Listen.
not answering it. So
We
I'm gonna
can't.
ask you this
We,
then. How is it
we can't have a
okay?
question.
How is
No.
it okay to ask a
I didn't
question
answer your last
that
question. You cut. You're
exactly,
asking
that's my point.
questions.
You're not going to answer it. So then I'm going to provide another point of logic. Because you obviously don't want to answer my question that I asked you because you know the answer. You know why I'm asking that question. Because
No, I don't. No,
they
I
didn't
don't.
audit the only audit that they did in Georgia was the ballots that were cast. They didn't go through the election records. They didn't go through voter registration. They didn't do any of that. They didn't do a full forensic audit. They only went through the votes that were already counted once. That's the
And I
problem.
submit.
You
And
have
I
to
submit to you. No,
compare
you
voter
don't. And I
registration.
said, okay, all right, you got to give
Okay,
me
then
a
let me
chance
ask
to
you this
speak.
then.
I gotta cut you.
If you
Look,
cannot
I'm gonna have to cut you
if you
off.
don't
I gotta.
I'd hate to cut the man off, but he's just talking and giving me no time to respond to anything. I mean, you're just going to keep throwing points at me without giving any kind of break. We're not having a conversation at that point. It's just you talking. Period. I was going to ask him, whatever happened to states' rights? You can't tell each state how they should perform their audit. I'm sorry if the audit performed in Texas is up to your standard, but the one performed in Georgia is not. They have a right to choose how they audit their votes. You're trying to tell the states, well, do what I want you to do. Then that's not states' rights. So all I can say is this. Like I said, I like to give folks a chance to speak their point, but everyone listening was definitely writing in. This guy's not letting you speak. You were dominating the conversation. I can't respond if you're not giving me time to talk. Let's see here. Then they're going to choose the way that makes sure that nobody finds they cheated. 11 butterflies. And I agree with your point. I won't say I agree with it, but I can understand your point. You're suggesting that if the states are allowed to do their own audits, then they're going to choose the way that will make sure nobody finds out they cheated, which would make me rebut immediately and say, then how do you know Texas audit was authentic? You're gonna tell me the way they audited in Texas may have not been done in a way that they could have cheated as well? So that's where my issue is that we assume that the states that went for Trump are all accurate and all honest, and we assume that the states that went for Biden are the ones that are cheating. But we didn't give the states that went for Trump a thorough overlook. I mean, he got multiple recounts in Georgia. How many right-wing states were taken at face value and they didn't get multiple recounts like that? How many recounts were performed in Wisconsin? You're going to tell me that happened in every single right-wing state? No, it did not. No, it did not. The states that Trump questioned, the audits and recounts performed in those states were far greater than the other ones. I don't assume nothing. I'll email you. See Skip 84. I look forward to getting that email. They're recounted in Arizona as well. Exactly. But he doesn't buy the way they recounted it. In his opinion, the audit and the recount done in that state was not proper. Like I said, there's a states' rights issue. You can't tell folks how to do
to run their election. Okay, modern colonizer. Now I know you're in the middle. Sure you've heard the back and forth. You've been holding on. I appreciate that. What's up?
Well, first of all, I just got to thank my man Harris. Somehow the last 3, 4 times I've been on, it's been right after him, and he just sets me up for success, man.
Okay, elaborate on that. How are you saying that?
Well, because I'm not just gonna speak over you first of all, because it's your live. This is your platform, brother, and I think most people, when they know they're losing an argument, it's just word salad, or if they're not that eloquent, they just keep talking and talking, and uh, basically ask you 9 questions so you can only answer maybe one, so anyways, Harris brings up some decent points that I can get on board with, but I've kind of just succumbed to the fact that I'm not going to change anybody's mind or opinion. So I'm not gonna, beat myself up over it.
Well, listen. Let me stop you real quick. The purpose here is not to change hearts and minds; it's to get a dialogue going back and forth. So let me ask you: give me some of the points that you actually think that he. And I got nothing but love for Harris. Me and Harris talks a lot. I don't know why this last conversation where he was just literally going on, and I made it clear, like, dude, you're not giving me any chance to rebut him. He was just throwing. I don't know. The passion was there that night, but I got nothing but respect for Harrison. He can come back through anytime. But give me some of the points that you believe that he was stating that actually were resonating with you.
Not even really all the way on his points, but I don't think that the recounts and the audits were. I mean, because you got to think of it this way: it's just like the police department has internal affairs to investigate it's the police investigating the police, right? So these people that are conducting the audits, let's be clear, there are not many Trump supporters in power, okay, because he threatens their power. Like I've said before, they all go to the same barbecues together, they've all been to Epstein's mansion together. We are not in their club, you know what I mean? On TV they make it look like they're fighting and bickering and all this good stuff, but at the end of the day, they are both in bed with each other. It's been very clear the last 20, 30 years, same bird, different wings, and
Okay.
so anyway.
But I guess you say that they're not in bed with Trump because he threatens their power. I guess this is where I would say being a non-politician is a disadvantage because you can go to Washington with clear intentions to do the right thing without making everybody feel frightened of you. This is very similar to the argument or the debate me and Jeff had about police. You can address people without frightening the shit out of people. If he's scaring people like that, then yeah, that's something that he's doing internally. The name calling and the insulting and all of that is making people uncomfortable with him, even on his own side, which is what you're talking about. But go ahead.
Right now, I don't even think it's. I mean, let's say it was something as bad as Mussolini or the funny mustached guy. Like, it would be incumbent upon our people that are currently in power to keep that guy out, right? So, I mean, I could see when some people think he's a threat to democracy. If that's, I don't think so, but if that's their opinion, I can understand their disdain for him, right? But it's just the idea that, you know, for as far as you're concerned, if you're a senator, your family is set up for the next five generations, right? Trump threatens that, removing your family line from power, removing what it's called the establishment for a reason, you know. And he's a threat to that. He's very immature in the way he goes about it, but he is not one of them. And I mean, it's becoming more and more clear every day when he said, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in their way. That's becoming an actual factual statement.
If what happened on January 6th didn't happen, I would be a lot more willing to entertain it. But when you say the establishment and that senators want to be set for life and things like that, based on the way Trump acted after losing the election, it made it appear as if he wanted the president to also enjoy similar lifelong benefits compared to Congress and Senate. It really made it look like that he just simply was not ready to relinquish power, and he was just trying to find any way to extend that.
Right. And I mean, it's just, we're just viewing it from different lenses, and I can totally appreciate the lenses you're seeing it through. The lenses I'm seeing it through is, uh, your hand is still on the Bible, taking the oath, and they're starting the impeachment process. And when things just don't feel that kosher during the election, and numbers change drastically overnight. I mean, I remember, and this could be nothing, but I remember looking at like the live stream of the ballot counting live streams. I'm sure we've all seen them for my county, and in the freaking room, day and night, the room was empty. Could have just been something weird with the feed, right? Like I said, it could be nothing. I have a tinfoil hat on, but it just didn't seem kosher. And so my answer to this one guy, he asked, he's a Democrat. He's got a page on here. He says, "Do you think the election was stolen?" And I'm like, man, I don't know, because I'm not the one counting the ballots. I don't have all that inside information. But what I do know is what's been going on the last couple of years is not kosher. That's all I can.
Okay, and to me, that's a much more fair answer than like what Harris was saying, is that Trump won by a landslide. If you want to say, look, the way the election was held, it looks kind of shady to me, particularly some of the changes in regards to the pandemic. I can understand it. It's jumping to the conclusion that Trump won by a landslide. Now, let me also say this in regards to my previous comment, that it looked like, because you said the senators in Congress, they know when they get in there, they're set for life or for years. For Fun and the Sun brought up a good point, and that is he put his family in his administration. They couldn't pass security, and that is true. So when you start talking about longevity and setting up a legacy in the Senate and Congress, it does look like Trump was trying to do that to some degree in the White House. I mean, can you imagine if Obama got in there and all of a sudden Sasha and Malia worked for the White House? Folks would be going apeshit over that. Now, Trump himself didn't take a salary. That's fine. But when you start putting other family members in there, and you got the FBI and in the Secret Services coming out and saying these people do not pass security clearance, why is that? Why would they say that? What's going on where Trump is overriding our not Secret Service, but our security agencies, and giving security clearances to people that the FBI is saying that your family members don't clear this?
Right. I won't sit here and defend Trump on that at all. And I will also retort, Biden's kids can't exactly pass security clearance either. Yeah, I know they're not holding cabinet
I agree
positions.
with that. I agree with that.
Right.
I agree with that.
And
Hunter Biden would not pass. I'm not here to defend Hunter Biden. I believe Hunter Biden is corrupt as hell, but like I always say, he won't serve time in jail. But I believe he's corrupt. That's fine. But but we're on the same page with that, because you came out and immediately admitted. I'm not here. I'm not going to try to play games and defend Trump on that. So you gave a decent answer as far as I'm concerned.
well, and then one more question he had. I've never even heard them speak, because they were just real young kids when Obama was in office. But Obama's a good guy. Michelle's a great woman. I'll bet you they're raising some pretty good kids. Are they going to be kind of snobby elitist? Yeah, that just comes with the territory, right? But let's just say, for example, that there was a third term for Obama. I know it can't. I know the Constitution, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't have a problem. I wouldn't have a problem with those two girls holding some kind of a position. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't exactly see. Here's the thing. I don't like the attacks on Ivanka, because you ain't got a whole lot of dirt on her, right? But Don Jr., I don't think he should be holding any kind of reins. You know what I mean? But
well, I'll respond by saying this in regards to Ivanka versus not having dirt on Ivanka. I don't know of any dirt on Michelle Obama, and I get folks in this forum every day saying she's a man. I get tons of attacks on Michelle Obama, and there's no dirt on her at all. And this is what I keep telling folks, when, like what you pointed out, Trump barely had his hand on the Bible and they were already impeaching him. And I keep pointing out, when you look at how Trump, MAGA, Republicans, and even a lot of Trump supporters particularly treated Obama, it should not surprise you why Trump had problems from day one, because he heckled the shit out of the Obama administration. Said the man was not even a legitimate president and was born elsewhere. So what did he? I mean, I guess I would ask you, after him doing that, saying that the last dude was not born in the country. I believe he told Jesse Waters on Fox News, Obama has not done a single thing good for this country. I have to ask you, is it really that shocking that Trump had problems from day one?
Well, nothing shocks me anymore in American politics, but it doesn't shock me that he had haters. It shocked me that they twice impeached him based on blatant, obvious. I mean, the Steele dossier was just like,
Okay.
how do we even? How do they not just stop and say, "Hey, we need to stop what we're doing because we've got our hand caught in the cookie jar here with some baloney," you know? Um, and so just the idea that they would take it so far on such BS terms.
Well, when you mention the impeachment and wonder how could they take this, that how could they continue taking this so far, I would say there's probably a lot of liberals looking at January 6th and asking the same question, because right now there's not enough evidence to support what went on January 6th. Like, why are they? I mean, they're here willing to actually fight and potentially harm the vice president, and it's based on most of those folks that were there on January 6th yelling for the execution of Mike Pence. If you had asked them what kind of proof you have right now on January 6th that Trump won in a landslide, it would have been very minimal. It would have been stuff like crowd size, or like what Harris Jordan was talking about. The audit wasn't held properly, but they didn't have any proof of significance to be talking about taking the vice president's life that day. Do you think they had proof then, that early in the game?
No, and there's still not proof. The only benefit of the doubt I will give them is the same mantra I've got. It's just that you've seen the person that you elected be attacked from day one, and not attacked in the media, but attacked on the floor of Congress. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, let me ask you this question. After Trump, because this is where I really think the problem is when we see Trump getting attacked from day one. I really think the reason that Trump getting attacked from day one looks so bad is because the folks who defend Trump are excluding the stuff he did before getting in office. So I have to ask you, based on him basically trying to get Obama kicked out of office by saying the guy's not a legitimate American, how do you think, in your opinion, how do you believe the Obama supporters should have treated Trump?
uh, I'm not saying they were unjustified, and I think there's a difference between supporters and congressmen. If you're an Obama supporter, a voter, you have all the right in the world to hate Trump for all those attacks about his legitimacy and everything like that. I think we're talking a different question when we're talking about actual impeachment process.
Okay.
Because do you impeach somebody for what they said before they even got into office about somebody else's character or their legitimacy as a candidate, stuff like that? No, you impeach them for violations of the oath of office.
Well, I would suggest that if you're saying that a president is not born in the country, isn't that an equivalent to impeaching him? Because you're basically saying he has no right to be here, and you're trying to get him out of office. You're saying he is an illegitimately elected president. So effectively, even though it is not officially an impeachment, and I get your point, it's not an impeachment. The end result is the same. You're suggesting that this person needs to be removed from office because they have no legal right to be here, and that's what he was doing.
Right. And I mean, not that Trump was ever an influential person, but at the end of the day, he was just a dude when Obama was in office. He was
Yeah,
not, he was a
yeah,
congressman. He was not a Supreme Court justice. His actual influence on removing Obama from office was nil. And I mean, again, we can play the exercise all day long. I think he was an idiot, and I think he was absolutely terrible for attacking Obama that way. But it doesn't justify starting impeachment processes while you're taking the oath. That's all there is to it.
right.
And quick
Fair
on the
enough. Fair enough.
while I'm still thinking about it on the January 6th thing, we don't hold the BLM movement. I don't. I know you don't. Most sane people don't hold the BLM movement responsible for the acts of a few. Okay.
That's
BLM
not
has
true. That's not true.
me,
There are
me.
anytime I bring up hang on a second. Anytime I bring up BLM, there's two, particularly in this audience. Anytime I bring up BLM, there are one or two trains of thought. One train of thought is that they are all rioters and looters, or the other train of thought is they all collected a bunch of money and they're spending it on mansions. None of the reaction to Black Lives Matter in this forum is positive. It is, yeah, they all are bad. It's literally ACAB, all Black Lives Matter are bad or whatever. I don't get any positive reaction in this forum to Black Lives Matter.
Right. I believe they're spending the money fraudulently, and I believe that, you know, the acts of a few have really tarnished their name. But when you're just talking about when BLM started in its infancy, I mean, they got a legitimate gripe and cause to go after. You know, I get behind that, right? What I'm getting at though
Well,
is sane people shouldn't be holding the entire movement accountable for the actions of a few. And realistically, January 6th, I mean, you're supposed to take your grievances to your government, right? A
okay.
few,
By
a
threatening to
few.
hang the vice president, that's taking a grievance to him?
All right, but did all 5,000 or whoever showed up have one? No, it's the actions of a
No.
few that really
Okay.
tarnish.
Well,
Now,
I'm just going to tell you, and I'm not talking about you specifically because I heard your point on Black Lives Matter. When it comes to right wingers, Trump himself, who stated Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization, your comments that you shouldn't hold the whole group accountable based on the actions of a few. In regards to most right wingers, they do hold the entire group accountable based on the actions of a few. And like I said, even Trump himself has referred to Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization. He didn't say nothing about some of them are good. No, he said they are a terrorist organization.
yeah, and I think that's why it's important to have conversations like ours to realize that, you know, the idiot with the microphone on TV doesn't represent everybody, that your neighbor is probably fairly sane and we can have a pretty realistic discussion about these things, you know.
Well, I'm
And
gonna say what I said. I'm gonna give you the last word, but I'm gonna say what I said earlier in our conversation. A lot of the, I guess you would say, unfair treatment to Trump or whatever, he brings it on himself. Because even though you're defending Trump and you support Trump, which is fine, that's what I welcome in this on this broadcast, these broadcasts. Even though you defend him, you're willing to admit he's done a lot of self-damning things that are wrong. And you're even admitting that. So that stuff has consequences. You can't go around suggesting that somebody is not born and shouldn't be a legitimate president simply because you're a citizen and you're not president right now. And then you become president and expect everybody to treat you fairly. Or like what you just said, you can't call somebody else's organization a terrorist organization based on the actions of a few, but then expect your organization to be viewed properly. He brings a lot of this stuff onto himself.
I agree. And my last word is two-parted. To retort to that, my support for Trump is 100% self-serving. I'm an HVAC contractor. I was able to buy air conditioners. I'm ready to buy a new work van. I can't buy a new work van right now. I can't hire anybody for less than $30 an hour that doesn't know the difference between certain tools. I mean, they're super entry level, fresh out of high school type guys want $30 a freaking hour. Okay. My support of Trump was 100% self-serving. I do not like the guy, but my life was better when he was running things.
Okay. That's a
And
fair
then,
point. That's a fair point.
and
I
then,
don't have.
and
Let me just say this real quick. Economically, my life was better too. Give me your second point.
I think it was Trucker Jeff he had in here before. I just wanted to say one thing when he said, talking about the type of cops that they're getting aren't necessarily great because these guys are combat vets coming back from war. Listen, man. First of all, F you, Trucker Jeff, for that statement. Secondly, those are the guys that you probably want most because people who've actually fought for their Constitution, and you might not agree with the Iraq and Afghanistan war, but these guys that go and fight next to their brothers in the defense of our Constitution are the guys you want out on the street. The guys you don't want out on the street are guys who were issued their balls by the county with a badge and a gun. These guys that always got their lunch money stolen through high school, they were never in charge of anything. They were always individuals. Those are the people that are out there beating the crap out of you when the cameras are off, not the combat vets.
Let me say this, and I tend to lean more towards Trucker Jeff. If you want to say F me, that's fine. But I will say this. I believe that the problem is not necessarily where the cops come from. It's not giving them proper psych evaluations. Just like you dial a call center, and I see the folks waiting. I'll get you. We're about to wrap this up, and I'll get to you guys next. But I will say this. When you call a call center, you often hear the phrase, this call will be monitored for quality assurance. They're making sure that the employees are doing things according to order. I believe that the police should also have audits that don't come from internet groups, because you see the audits on the internet show the cops are fucking up crazy. I think their own departments go have somebody speed down the highway past. Okay, you got a guy on I-80 with a radar detector. Say I'm talking to the sergeant or to the lieutenant. I know you got a guy on I-80 with a radar detector. Why don't you go have one of the citizens drive past him at 90? Let him pull that citizen over, and I want that citizen to give him a few choice words. The citizen can calmly say, I've never liked cops and I don't like you. And I want you to audit how your cop reacts. They should get audits to find out if they actually know the Constitution. And I say this because too many people who are simply standing on the street corner filming police, which is a Supreme Court adjudicated First Amendment rights. You have a right to do this. And the cops come over there and fuck with them. It's stuff like that. Whereas you see these YouTube channels, they got audit the police and audit the cops. They fail audits right and left. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't care if they came from Vietnam or they came from, I don't care if they came from the Iraq War or they came from being bullied in school, like you mentioned both sides. The fact is, you shouldn't be failing these audits like this. And they cannot handle criticism. They cannot handle scrutiny from citizens. They fail this stuff right and left. So that's where I think the problem is.
I agree. Power corrupts, and no one's immune from it. But I just think the blanket statement that because combat vets coming back from Vietnam didn't exactly have Rambo came out and they stopped getting jobs. You know what I mean? So
Well, I'm a big fan of Rambo, but yeah, he came back really fucked up. For you guys old enough who've seen First Blood, but yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. Good chat. I'm gonna move it on, man.
Pleasure.
All right, always, always. Real quick, Trevor
Stevenson said nobody denied he wasn't a saint. You're talking about Trump. Let me just say this. And I see that comment, Smoke 14 Me says, love this, bro. Appreciate that. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm trying to get up to 10,000 likes. Show your boy some love. Tap the screen. Doesn't cost you shit. Give me up to 10,000. In regards to saying that Trump is not a saint. Okay, that's fine. Nobody's trying to say he's a saint. I'm saying the stuff he does is more conducive to being a dick. Just doing shit to piss people off. Just heckling folks. Just trying to rile people up. Like I said, saying Obama's not born in the country when you have absolutely no proof of where he was born. Why do that? Why do that? Okay, no, he's not a saint. That's fine. And we're not asking our politicians to be a saint with halos over their head. That's fine. But statements like that, heckling people, has consequences. You just can't say whatever the fuck you want about people. In some cases, whether it's not even true, just to further your own agenda and not face consequences for that. I have said several times on many broadcasts, I think the Trump administration, the Trump presidency, the Trump years were successful. I believe strongly that if it was only up to Trump's policies in his administration, I think his legacy would have gotten him a second term. But all of that stuff that you guys keep dismissing, all of the name calling, all it, I think I strongly believe that's why he's not in office, is he just was an expert at being a dick and he couldn't control himself. And he's already basically led us to believe that if he gets reelected, he's going to bring all that back. A few days ago, I made a video of Trump suggesting that he's done more for Christianity, more for religion of all types than any other human being alive. What the fuck would make him say that? Period. I understand he got Roe versus Wade overturned. That's fine. But what would make him make a grandiose statement like that? I mean, it's shit like that that causes him problems. But if you want to go to how he ran the country as a businessman, I'm fine with that. There was no wars going on. I'm fine with that. The inflation rates, the job numbers were awesome. But why say this ridiculous shit over and over again? Okay, let me go. Benny 144. I know you've been waiting. I do apologize, but let's get it on. Let's get it on, as Marvin Gaye would say. Assuming it lets him in. Unemployment was 4.5 when Trump took over from Obama and 6.3 when he left office. Megoro, like I said, under the Trump administration, I do believe it was a successful presidency. I get that unemployment was high at the end of his office because at the end of his administration because everything was closed. But if you look at the Trump administration right up to the pandemic, which was we had the first case in November 2019. It really took off in 2020. He got inaugurated in January of 2017. So from January 2017 to January 2020, it's pretty clear the country was running pretty smoothly under Trump. So that's why I say that. Trump also said he's okay with being called a dictator. Wow, is that true? Is that James? Wow, is that really true? I didn't know that. That's horrible. Okay, Lobo Warrior. I guess the other gentleman, his connection.
Let him in. Gonger bearded the bear. Not true at all. What's not true? Thanks, Obama says Jeff. Okay, Lobo, what's up? Lobo Warrior, you're on mute. You are on mute. That's because he was spending like crazy. They all spend like crazy. When was the last time we had a president that actually lowered the deficit in our lifetime? Was it maybe even not under the Clinton administration? Maybe because him and Newt Gingrich balanced the budget. Lobo Warrior, I'm not getting in.
You were on mute. So right now the lines are open. If anyone wants to come in and speak your mind or forever hold your peace. He actually said that he could shoot somebody. Yeah, I know. I don't know where to go with that, but yeah, he definitely said that. Okay, Lobo, let's try this again.
Clinton did. Yeah, Clinton balanced the budget. That's the last guy. Okay, Lobo, you're on mute, Lobo. You are on mute. I'm not going to be able to hear your
device. Okay, you just dropped out again. Result from the Obama administration. Trump started Space Force and got us the vaccine. And he has got you guys 3 Supreme Court justices and overturned Roe versus Wade. The Trump legacy is pretty damn strong. WC on the road. I'm not here to dispel that the Trump legacy is pretty damn good. But his mouth and just being a dick has not worked in his favor. Steve.
Bro, 2 was president for 4 years. I don't get that kind. Okay, Steve Launcher, what's up?
How's it going?
It's all good. What's on your mind tonight?
I just wanted to say hi, man.
Okay, that's fair enough. What do you think about what we're talking about?
At what age did you start balding?
You said what?
Oh, let's see here. He asked me what age I started balding, so clearly
he's in a different realm as far as the topics are concerned. James, you are not a liberal. There are no liberals. Okay.
Oh, I don't know what's going on with your Lobo there, but you got some problems. Clinton was the last to lower the deficit. Yeah, but he reached across the aisle with Newt Gingrich, and they got it done. So, folks, I guess at the end of the day, there are still a significant amount of you that believe that Antifa and Black Lives Matter was not only present at the Capitol on January 6th, but played a significant part in what went on. We've had a few callers here. Most of you do seem to believe, though, when it came to those who were inside the Capitol building committing the ruckus and things like that, most of you do admit that the majority of them were Trump supporters. There's just folks in here who are saying that, well, Antifa was present. I think both Harris and Real Trucker Jeff pointed to Sullivan. This guy, Sullivan, is something I want to look him up, by the way. Somebody sent me video of it, and I'll look at the video. But even those gentlemen are not suggesting that Antifa or Black Lives Matter were the primary players on January 6th. You just believe that they were present. Let me see the comments here. 11 Butterflies. I just sent you an email with some stuff that I found about Antifa in January 6th. Check it out. I certainly will do that right after this broadcast, 11 Butterflies. Overturning Roe is not in the best interest of the majority of the United States. For fun in the sun. Yeah, the polls do say that the majority of Americans, at least up to some point in the pregnancy, do support a woman's right to choose. Those numbers drop off the further along in the pregnancy she goes. So when you start talking 2nd and 3rd trimester abortions, yeah, the amount of support for that really starts to drop off. You're going to have to go way over to the far left to find folks who support 3rd trimester abortions and things beyond that. But when it comes to an abortion in the first trimester, yeah, the majority of Americans, under some circumstances, do support a woman having some right to choose, particularly when it comes to rape and incest. So if they're going to pass a law handing it back to the states, and some of these states start passing blanket no abortion bans, yeah, that is not in the, I won't say it's not in the best interest. It's certainly not listening to the people, because it's giving the people something that majority of them do not want. Polls don't make the laws. That is true. That is very true, Chris 34. I'm just pointing it out, but you're right. Majority of abortions are done in the first trimester. So yeah, that's right, Kinky Afro, because after that, it starts to get harder to get it done. It's not legal as much. And I believe a lot of the mothers develop a stronger attachment. Who is Black Lives Matter? Smoke 14? It can be anyone. There's no color requirements. There's no age requirements. Now, let's be clear. There's a difference, a stark difference between Black Lives Matter, the organization, and Black Lives Matter, the movement. Your humble correspondent, yours truly, I do not support Black Lives Matter, the organization. This is a group of folks who have taken donations, and you got the membership supporting fascism and just getting involved in a lot of shit that has nothing to do with the actual original cause of the movement, Black Lives Matter. But Black Lives Matter, the movement, are folks who are simply suggesting that the way this country treats the life of a black person is substandard. I actually am in the camp for that part of it. And I'll say this, we've all heard of Natalie Holloway, Gabby Petito last year, or John Benet Ramsey. We've all heard of those. Name me a very popular African-American that's come up missing. I just named you 3 Caucasians that everybody know of that made national attention. When an African-American comes up missing, it does not get a lot of attention. That's the difference we're talking about when I say Black lives. You go to Walmart, there are tons of missing African-Americans on the wall. So it's not like they don't come up missing. They just don't make national news. There's not the amount of sympathy for missing African-American life is not the same. So I do agree with Black Lives Matter, the movement. Black Lives Matter, the organization, I think is corrupt. Good point, says Darren Kirk. Yeah, appreciate that. Movement is legit, but a byproduct of bad shit everyone will know about soon. See, Skip, you're always going to know about it. Every single movement in United States history that addressed racism was criticized and demonized, up to and including Martin Luther King. You know, a lot of folks to this day do not know that Martin Luther King was on the FBI's terror watch list. That's how much he got demonized. They actually had him down on the list as a fucking terrorist. You name it. I can't breathe, hands up, don't shoot. You name it. Every African-American movement gets demonized if it's in regards to slavery throughout fucking history. Every single civil rights leader in American history has received probably at least 100,000 death threats or more. So it gets to the point where it is really difficult to tell what is legitimate criticism and what's made up, because you're going to get it. I mean, if you start, and you could be white, doesn't matter what color you are, not about color here. Anyone that speaks on behalf of African Americans or minorities and suggests that they're being mistreated can expect to be demonized by a lot of people. It's just what happens, which is why I am so shocked that Black Lives Matter, the organization, would collect, what, 90 million, 60 million, depends on who you talk to, would collect millions of dollars and not be extremely transparent with where the money was going. You would have to know, with so many people hating your organization, they're going to be holding you under incredible scrutiny. You can't be willy-nilly on answering questions and shit like that. Black Lives Matter has been criticized since day one. Why the hell would you not be accountable for what you're doing with the money? Hoover was notorious for attacking civil rights organizations. That is true, JS. Why has the population of African Americans leveled off? Why has the population, what do you mean, in terms of, was it growing or was it declining? I don't, elaborate more on that. Martin Luther King is a hero, says Chris 34.0. Now, in 2024 or 2022, when you look at Black Lives Matter, rioting and looting, you look at Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, you often hear they're not protesting the right way. I'd be willing to listen to their cause if they protested the right way. Okay, take Martin Luther King, for instance. Never rioted, never looted, was as peaceful as you could peaceful as you could be, walk into a restaurant and just sit down. And for his troubles, they shot him in the face. So the idea that you could protest peacefully and people would listen to you is kind of laughable. And I said this to Harris Jordan early in the program, or maybe it was Real Trucker Jeff, about I'd be willing to listen to them if they protested the right way. If you do not believe someone's core message, there is no right way to protest. It's just like we're talking about abortion. If a woman believes she should be allowed to have an abortion in the third trimester, there is absolutely no right way for her to protest that. The American public does not believe in the movement she's trying to promote. The same thing with Black Lives Matter. If you don't believe systemic racism or cops mistreating black folks, if you don't believe that's a real issue, then there's no right way to protest that. They could do anything you suggest, and you would just turn it off because you believe they're protesting some bullshit. I mean, just be real. It doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. I'm just simply saying, if you don't believe somebody's core message, there is no right way for them to tell it to you. Rainy, Kane.
Exactly. Okay. Says right, light skin, the legend. I love that name. Rainy, what's going on tonight?
Hi. So I
How you doing?
100% I 100% agree with you on BLM. They would be really dumb. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they would actually steal the money because these women are college educated, and I don't believe they would be so stupid to steal the money. I just don't believe it.
Okay.
And
Well,
you would
let me
think,
stop you. Hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. Let me stop
okay,
you. You put $90 million in somebody's hand. I don't care how fucking educated they are. There is a huge
I'm just
incentive to
saying
run off
when you
some of
know.
that money. Go ahead.
I'm just saying when you know you will be on extra scrutinized, like you say, I just find it hard to believe they would be that dumb. I really don't believe it. But if they are, send those bras to jail. Send them to jail. I just wonder
Yeah.
if why didn't we hear about investigations under Bill Barr? Why wasn't any of that happening when Trump was in office, right? He hated the BLM people. So it's like, where was the FedEx then? I feel like what's happening here?
Well,
Is that not like, do you not wonder about that? Like all of this money over 8 years, I think they've been an organization for what, 8 or 9 years or whatever it
yeah, but
was.
that's not when the primary amount of money was really going to Black Lives Matter during the summer of 2020 when the whole George Floyd blew up and they started naming streets after Black Lives Matter. That's when Black Lives Matter gained a lot of sympathy, was during the summer of 2020. Trump was out of office. Trump lost in the fall of 2020. So when you ask why Attorney General Barr did not do more of an investigation and things like that on Black Lives Matter, is because they didn't have a lot of time. And keep in mind, towards the end of the Trump administration, I believe Trump either fired or forced Bill Barr himself to resign as well. He didn't even hold a good relationship with with Attorney General Barr. In fact, Barr wrote a book on it. And the book is titled One Damn Thing After Another. So even Attorney General Barr did not leave the Trump administration on good terms. So that's why you didn't get a lot of investigation from Barr in regards to Black Lives Matter. He wasn't around very long. Once that stuff kicked off, Trump was out of office within 6 months.
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, they were, anyway, I'm not gonna argue on that one because I don't know. I feel like they were automatically targeted way before George Floyd. That's what I recall anyway. I mean, there was the Breonna Taylors and the Ahmaud Arbery deaths. I mean, they was in the streets back then.
They
It
weren't getting
just
the money though. They weren't raising that kind of money though, is what I'm saying. I don't believe the
Mm,
money was coming in like that.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
No,
fair.
Black Lives Matter has been around for a while. I agree with that. But I'm saying during the summer of 2020, when Trump started attacking the organization, just like with Colin Kaepernick was around for a while. It was only when Trump started taking sides and attacking the guy is when he got so much sympathy. Before that, Colin Kaepernick would take a knee and nobody really would even pay attention to him. All of a sudden, Trump started criticizing the guy, and then the next football game or the next Sunday, you had folks on all the teams throughout the NFL. You even had coaches taking a knee, and it was because Trump got involved in it.
That was such a sad time.
Yeah. Well, it ain't
Unbelievable.
over
The
with
man,
yet.
like you say,
It ain't.
it's like how do you define peacefully protest? You don't say a damn thing, and it's still a problem, right? MLK doesn't even burn down nothing, and he still gets assassinated. It's the craziest dynamic. It's really black people need to shut up and just deal with it. That's what this is all about. It's like they don't want you to do shit. Just shut up and live. We already set you free, black people, so shut up. That's really what I hear from these folks. But anyway,
Well,
you also
go ahead.
you also were talking about abortion and second and third trimesters and all that. What is the legal thing today? Is it just the first trimester? Is that the legal limit? I don't
Well,
even know what it is.
it's still somewhat states' rights. If you're seeking a third trimester abortion, that's going to be very difficult to get. A lot of doctors won't perform that. So the doctors also have a say so. I mean, no matter what the laws are, as a physician, if you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. If you don't think that this is something that is morally correct or morally right, even as an abortion doctor, I'm not going to, if an abortion doctor says I'm not going to abort your 8-month-old child, and he doesn't have to do it. So I believe Planned Parenthood, the folks that get demonized a lot by the right, they got limits. They're not going to. I don't think that they would just abort a child throughout any
That's the
stage of
thing.
the
I think
pregnancy.
that's something the right made up. I really believe that's all made up. Like I have to believe if there is a third trimester or something went horribly wrong and is saving the mom's life or something. I don't believe that's like a thing that's happening. And actually, I saw on Fox News they said something like in the last 10 years, 6,000 abortions happened in the third trimester. If you think about 6,000 over 10 years, that's not a lot of, that's like a very rare scenario in terms of all the abortions that have happened, millions and millions of them.
Well, I would dare say, I mean, even though 6,000 is a small number, still, it shouldn't happen at all. But I will say this. I would dare say that if they legalized third trimester abortions, 90% of the women or more that want to have abortions would not do that. It's too
No, that's
damning on the
insane.
mother.
That baby, that's a baby. That's like a
Yeah.
full blown baby. No, I don't agree with any of that either. I think the first trimester, which I thought was in the Supreme Court standards, is that's what settled law is. I think what is it, 15 weeks or 20 weeks or whatever it is. Whatever it is, I think we just need to leave it. Whatever it is, just leave it.
Well, they don't want to leave it because it goes against what they think is morally correct. So, but you're talking about aborting a baby or third trimester. I got folks in the audience that I've talked to that suggest that you talk about third trimester. You got folks who have suggested that that it is legal, or folks are trying to legalize aborting. One person told me aborting a baby that's up to 7 days outside of the womb, and somebody else said up to 28 days after it was born.
And that's, again, these are these right wingers who can't read the bills. And I mean, I think we talked about this last time. If they said that California is legalizing killing kids after they're born, that's not an abortion. That's an actual murder. The kid is alive. Like,
Okay, but let me say this in regards to Kinky Afro in the comments. He said, "Please stop gaslighting about third trimester. That is not even an argument, and that is not even an argument, and one is having. That is not true. I got somebody in the comments right now that I've debated with that have said that they do allow abortions up to 7 days outside of the womb, and somebody else said up to 28 days. So
that's
Kinky
not
Afro,
an
you are
abortion.
wrong.
That is literally a live human being born, breathing.
I'm just
That is murder. If the baby is alive, that's not an abortion. Abortions happen inside the uterus, like not after
Well,
is
I'm
alive.
just I'm just saying. I'm just saying in regards to his comment, there are people who have, I mean, even supposedly going
These
to send me
people just
information.
believe anything, man.
Yeah, well,
Well, okay, so did you really believe that's happening? I'm just curious.
third, and what we talking about abortion outside of the womb?
Yeah, do you think that that's
Hell
really
no,
happening? Okay.
hell no, hell no. But I make it clear. I make it clear that I strongly am a proponent of free speech, and I let everybody get their point across. I'll tell them, look, I don't agree with shit you're saying. I say that all the time, but if you have a point, I will let you make it. I don't censor anybody. But yeah, an abortion at 28 days outside of the womb, hell no, I don't believe that. That would
And what
be look.
doctor would do that? Like what?
Let me say this. Let me say this. You got a lot of right wingers who say that it's not an abortion ban. It's just giving rights back to the states. So okay, you're okay if Alabama or Texas wants to have a complete abortion ban. If the state of Illinois said, okay, third trimester abortions are okay, all of that okay, states' rights shit would go out of the window. They would be going after Illinois. You're telling me you're fine with
This,
states' rights as long as the states do what you want. If the state of Illinois started allowing third trimester abortions, the right wing would be going after them. Period.
but these are the same people who just had a conniption when the government told them to wear a mask and you had to get vaccinated to keep your job and all this other stuff, right? These are the same people talking about the government shouldn't be involved in your medical business, but now it's okay to give states the decision makers over women's bodies. And this is what I mean. The right is so hypocritical. It's not even.
Well,
It's
it's
disgusting.
but I can't just say it's the right because I can come up with all kinds of hypocrisies on the left. But somebody, Johnson 100 stated, "Why are black women on here? Y'all still think what happens to white women goes for you?" Wow. How do you feel
What?
about a comment like that?
Wait, okay, maybe I misinterpreted. You know me, I can get crazy real quick. Say it again.
Okay, here is the actual typed quote. Why are black women on here? Meaning in this forum, meaning you're on here now. Why are black women on here? Y'all still think what happens to white women goes for you. So in other words, why do you believe that you're going to receive the same kind of equality as a white woman? That's the way I'm interpreting it. How do you feel
Oh
about
wow,
that?
man, I feel attacked. I literally, I feel attacked. Please follow up on that, sir. I really feel attacked
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
one.
and I will say the same thing. Elaborate on what you're talking about. If I misinterpreted, I apologize. I want to know. Yeah, I want to know exactly what you said on that too. Kinky Afro says pictures of the folks that this dude is tolerating. So what? So in other words, you don't give a shit about what's coming out of their mouths. You're actually talking about people's photos. I mean, for real. It was an
Wow.
attack. Yeah, you get that all the time. I guess he's commenting on your picture. I get all kinds of folks talking about I'm not handsome or whatever. What the fuck ever. I don't give a fuck. Like I said, my skin is thicker than an alligator covered in cement. If you want to comment on my looks, whatever.
I really hope that gentleman responds. And I really like a follow up on that. I hope that's not what they implied.
There's so many comments coming in, but I am looking through trying to find what he was talking about, and I don't see. I don't see because I would like to know that also. It's this double luck 777 says, why are the pro Constitution party ignoring the 14th Amendment of the Constitution?
Mm.
Is it wait, what is the 14th? That's slavery. What is the 14th? What am I missing out on? I really want to know.
That's the
Oh, I
right
want
to
to know.
privacy. I think that's in the 14th Amendment, right? And that's where we got all of our, isn't all of our rights came in the 14th Amendment, is my understanding, if I remember correctly.
No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, and or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction equal protection of the laws. I'm trying to figure out. That's from the 14th Amendment. That's Section 1. I'm trying to figure out where is he going with that. Double up. Let me know in the comments where exactly are you going with that. Republicans are afraid that the white race will be the minority. They want white babies. That came from Janie, Laney 929. Ouch.
I believe
Wow.
that.
Wow. Is it midnight yet? Holy shit, the comments coming in. Is it midnight yet?
I literally believe that. I mean, that's something that the Republican Party has said all along. I mean, even Jane Elliott was talking about this decades ago, that the white race is no longer going to be the majority. So this is the only way that they can force white babies to be born. They can't just say white women can only not have abortion. So
So
nobody.
what do
So
you
they
think
know
of
there's
the what do you think of the argument that abortion and this is a true argument. Originally, abortion was used to actually get rid of African Americans, and they point out that abortion clinics are heavily populated in urban areas. What do you think about that one?
I don't know. I find it hard to believe if we are the hater race, then you wouldn't want to stop black abortions, right? I mean, and I believe we are the most hated race on the planet. I mean, so I just don't believe that narrative. I really don't.
Okay, all right.
That's
Like
my
I said,
opinion. I
I've
don't
heard it.
believe it.
Rainey, this is coming from attorney, no, Anthony 6195. He's talking to you. That's what MAGA is all about, white supremacists. Wow, you guys are, man, it must be late in the evening because my primary audience is MAGA. You guys are throwing it out hard. Y'all coming hard tonight. Wow.
Oh, you
Yeah.
want to
Oh, yeah.
MAGA call? I gotta get your numbers up. I'll jump off so you get your MAGA people on here.
Okay.
I know
All right. Well,
you like
I'm gonna
maybe up
move it
there.
along because I do got a MAGA person waiting on hold, and I
All
do
right,
want to get
darling.
him
I'll talk
in.
to you later. Bye.
Absolutely. Now,
Go back to any time. Okay, Trump train.
fuck Biden. So this is about as strong as a counterpoint as you can get. We've spoke before. Welcome back, Trump train. What's going on, man?
What's happening, handsome? Boy, they throwing some hate on my shine. Look, look here. Look here. Hey, I actually looked up the bill while you was
Talk to me. Talk to me? What you got? And audio, Deek 5, you said your podcast was great. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Trump device, you somehow clicked on mute. You muted yourself. Come on back in here and talk to your boy, brother. I want to hear from you. Do you think this could lead to an exodus of red states by Democrats, liberals, and leftists? How so? I don't get that, Curtis. Just simply based on the Roe versus Wade. Okay, Trump train, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It was lagging for a second.
Okay. All right. Okay, I can hear you perfectly. What's up?
Okay, it's lagging. Is
Okay,
it back?
do this. I'm gonna disconnect you and come right back on. I'll put you right back on. Come on.
I just disconnected you. Come right back. When's the handsome liberal coming out? God damn it, look at your phone. Look at your phone. There you go. Handsome as fuck. By the way, I identify as heterosexual, so if you do not find me handsome, hallelujah, thank God. Okay, let's try this again. Trump train, fuck Biden.
He can't afford real internet. Imagine that. Okay, Snuffle Peekness said, just kidding, bro. Okay, sorry. Okay, Trump train, can you hear me?
Ask him who can't afford real internet. I bet you he didn't make $1,700 a day with his mouth. Maybe he did do it with his mouth.
Oh my God. Okay, so
All right.
what have you been? What you've heard what's been going on the MAGA side of the house. I haven't seen it get this. The criticism from MAGA has been pretty hard from my last callers. What do you think about what you've been hearing?
It's tough, man. Listen, I agree with you on a lot of things. I mean, we all know Trump has an inferiority complex. Okay, the man does. Okay, listen here.
You using big words tonight. You using
Hey,
big words tonight. I'm loving it. Go ahead.
let you be the president and see if you ain't inferior. I don't care who you are. And then one man said something about shaking hands with the enemy. Now, we all know, you keep your enemy close. Okay, and
Okay.
the friend of my enemy is my friend. Okay, or the enemy
Okay.
of my enemy is my friend. So,
What
eh,
about the comment that David, looks like it says David Bransky, he put in here that Trump is a narcissist. Do you believe that?
man, I believe he does have some narcissistic tendencies. He would have been the greatest president ever if he just didn't talk sometimes. That's a fact. Even you can
Okay.
ask, most Trump supporters would even say that had he not gone and tweeted and not said some of the things he said, there's no doubt. I mean, you even said you can't deny the numbers. Math doesn't lie. Just like these Democrats or whoever they are, I don't care who they are, that do this thing with the mask and go out and get the jab and all this and that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. The numbers don't lie.
I agree with that. I won't say the best president ever because there's folks who, ended slavery, sent somebody to the moon, beat off Nazis. But I do believe he would have been a very successful president and he would have served 2 terms. The issue with the tweets and things like that, unfortunately, is that most MAGA actually like that stuff. And this is why I've said that even though I think Ron DeSantis would probably be a better candidate for 2024 because he doesn't bring that shit, After talking to MAGA as much as I've been doing, I think that the Trump supporters would be bored with Ron DeSantis because he doesn't have that energy in regards to hyping up the crowd with all the name calling and stuff. He would get in there and he would be a typical politician. He would lead the country in a great direction, I believe. The economy would be good, but he would be boring. You guys like Pocahontas and Nervous Nancy and all. That's he wouldn't be saying that stuff. So the rallies or the meetings would not be energetic.
Nah, we need to keep the sense right here in Florida, man. He keeps it real. I'm gonna tell you right now, that dude right there kept everything open, kept everything going. Listen, they bullshitted so bad. Our numbers weren't as bad as they said. I was doing tree work at morgues. The numbers never changed. I mean, they need to get off it, man. Look here, the same. I'm not saying people didn't die, but look here. I know more people that died going to the hospital than I do that caught COVID. Listen, if it was a plague, did you see anybody die at Walmart? Was you at Walmart and see somebody fall down dead? That's a plague. Okay, that's a damn disease that you need to be scared to death of. Hey, Cracker walking out to his mailbox falls down. That's a plague. We better run. We better go get some masks, some air filter breathing stuff. We better put some UV lights around our windows and doors. Y'all better run. Look here, a plague.
Well, let me respond. First of all, 11 butterflies. You said I don't know MAGA peeps. I know and love DeSantis. My question, I guess, I would ask to you, and I know where you're down in the Sunshine State. If you had a choice for president, not for governor, for president, who would you prefer personally? 11 butterflies. I saw your comment. In regards to the plague, and you said what is a pandemic and not. The problem is, and I agree with you, folks were not dropping dead in Walmart. However, when you got essentially the vast majority of the medical community telling you our ICUs, our morgues are literally filled with dead people. What are you supposed to say? Y'all don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I
Like in
got it.
Chicago,
I
for
got
instance,
you.
even the funeral homes were like, we don't have any appointments to give you to bury your loved one. We're too booked.
I got you. Listen, they did that too. They said, okay, well, if we designate a COVID floor to 15, say 15 beds, and out of those 15 beds, 13 are full. Well, mathematically speaking, you can go on the news and say the hospital is 90% full of COVID patients. Do you see where the math plays in?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that math. I'm telling you that if a hospital is ordering refrigerated trucks to put bodies in, obviously their morgue is actually full. They wouldn't do that I mean, it costs money to order refrigerated trucks and have them sitting on the outside of your hospital. If they're saying
Okay.
that they got folks laying on the ground in ICU because they have no beds, they can't be making that up. I mean, that's something you can visually see.
It depends. It depends on the area. I think what they did was they'd go to like a hot spot. You had Governor Newsom up there in New York that was just stuffing people in old folks' homes, making them allowing them to get sick, almost like chicken pox, where you back in the day you let your kid go to daycare to get chicken pox with the other kids. Well, that's what they were doing up in New York, I think. And old people, I get it. Hey, I had COVID. It sucked. For about 4 or 5 hours, I had rapid, shallow breathing that I even was like, damn, this is kind of rough right here. If I was old, I'd probably died from it. I get it. But I got more friends that one was a nurse, got the jab, got Guillain-Barré disease, couldn't walk for a year. I got another friend, got her second jab, died 10 days after it. My own grandmother got her second jab, died heart inflammation within a week of getting it. Listen, I know more people, and I know thousands of people, brother, more people dead from vaccination than unvaccinated. I know more people that I got buddies there in the Marines that say their wife didn't get vaccinated. They were required to get vaccinated. These dudes were sick for 2 weeks. Their wife was sick for 2 days. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, I understand no illness is going to treat everybody the same, and I get your point. Susan Dudley Brown, okay, this is in the comments. This is in regards to you. This dude, this guy is cray cray. In other words, she's suggesting that you're crazy. Did he get the polio vaccine? Have you been immunized for polio?
I probably why does that make you crazy if you get polio?
No, no, no. The reason why I'm asking you her question is because when I went to school, public school back in the 70s and 80s in Chicago, every year they would ask you, did you get your shots? You had to get measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox. You had to get shots, which were vaccines, to attend public school. And I don't remember anyone saying the science is faulty or I don't know. It wouldn't have been Dr. Fauci back then. This would have been back when Jack Tripper was on Three's Company. I don't remember anybody saying Jack Tripper don't know what he's talking about with
Well,
Christie and Jenny.
Here's the deal.
What
See,
I'm saying is,
she gonna find out I'm smarter than her. Listen, we didn't have conventional therapy for polio. Okay, there was no, and people, and polio was a totally different thing. You're talking apples to oranges here. Polio was nothing like COVID. Polio, people literally just died. Bam. You know what I'm saying? Like you're talking about the Black Plague here. Polio. Listen,
but they're not
what I'm
dying. They're not dying from. They didn't die like that from chickenpox and the measles, and people still get vaccinated for that.
And yes, to answer her question, I'm sure my mama was pro vaccine. She made sure to call me every day to beg me to take the vaccine. I finally told her, listen, you say it one more time, I'm gonna disown you as a child because this is getting kind of crazy here. Okay. I'm
Okay. Okay.
anti-vax, you're pro-vax. Let's just not talk about it, is what I used to tell her. Okay.
Okay.
But
All
no,
right.
I got vaccinated. But there's conventional therapy in this. You can do things. You can hydrate, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin K. Um, I mean, go get ivermectin if you think it works. That's on you. You know what I'm saying? Do what you think you need to do to keep yourself healthy. Take vitamins. I'm not saying you're not going to get. It took me 2 years. I've never wore a damn mask in my life. I was a firefighter for quite some time, and I have many people in the same field that'll tell you mask are for sick people. Okay, it's a viral infection. You will get it in your eyeball if you're going to get it. It's a virus. If it's a virus, you will get it in your eyes. What, you can wear goggles every day? Come on.
Well, here's the, now Snuffles. What does that say? Snuffle something. He asked the question. Snuffle Pups or something like that asked the question. Do you know anything about modern medicine? And then he followed up and said no. And I'm not. And this is not necessarily directed just at you, Trump train. But I will say this: a large portion of the folks that I heard suggesting that Fauci, for instance, or the CDC didn't know what they were talking about were not from the medical community. Now, I'm not saying that Dr. Fauci did know what he was talking about. I'm not saying the CDC was right. I'm just simply saying the vast majority of the folks that were criticizing them were, security guards or teachers or janitors. Like, how are you criticized? Like, as Dr. Fauci, for instance, regardless if you agree or disagree with Dr. Fauci, he spent most of our lives, and I'm almost 50. He has spent most of our lives working with viruses. The HIV epidemic, for
Do
instance,
you
30 years
do you
ago.
know there's
And
video footage of Dr. Fauci saying that, oh, do not trust your children in a house with someone with AIDS? This is how smart this guy is back in the 80s. Do you know that if your kid's in a home with someone that has AIDS, they could potentially get AIDS too? That's how smart this guy is. Now, there's video. Y'all want to do your research? Y'all go find it. It's out there. This man in the 80s didn't dude, I mean, come on, man. There's somebody that said if your kid's in a home with somebody that got AIDS, they're going to get AIDS.
well, I'm just, and if you said that, wow, I'm just going to say this. I
Go
just seen, I
find it.
think it
It's
was,
out there.
I will say this. I just seen Magic Johnson, the basketball player. I think he was on Jimmy Kimmel or something like that. And this was a show that was just taped a week or so ago, and he was thanking his 30 years of life to Dr. Fauci, and he was talking about how Dr. Fauci took him under his wing and all of that back when he first came down with the illness. So I'm gonna say that as well. There are a lot of HIV patients that are giving Dr. Fauci credit for saving their lives.
Well, let's do this. How many people have full blown AIDS like Magic Johnson and beat it? Hey, money talks, right? And that's it. Took
I
him
don't
under his
think
wing.
no 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 wait. I don't think Magic Johnson ever had full blown AIDS. He had HIV.
You
I don't think
sure?
it's immune to. Yeah, I don't think he ever had full blown AIDS.
Okay. I might have to
Yeah, I
look
don't
into
believe
that.
that. Yeah, I'd have to look into it, but I don't believe that. Somebody said, please do your research on Dr. Fauci. He was scrutinized for a reason. Well, he's stating Trump train is giving reasons right now. So I'm not saying that Dr. Fauci is perfect. I'm just saying that listen, it would be like if I'm sitting on an aircraft with a pilot that always gets drunk, being accused of dereliction of duty and all kinds of shit, and the plane starts going down and the original pilot has had a heart attack, and the only person on that plane is this pilot that has always been getting drunk and shit like that. Is he perfect? No, but he sure is better than me. I'm going to listen. I hope you ain't drunk right now, dude, but I think we really need you. I'm going to put him in the seat because he's better than me. And that's what I would say about Dr. Fauci. Maybe he's
How
not
about this?
perfect, but he's better than me.
What about if anybody is old enough to know that's on here right now? In the years past, when we've had infectious diseases every term, every 4 years, go look at the mass swine flu, bird flu, this flu. Okay,
Ebola.
there's
Yeah, I
always
get it. I get it.
there's always been a panel of doctors up there. Okay, I get it, science. I get science. Hey, that's great. But why is there not a panel of doctors up there when there's thousands of doctors that have spoke out against the science and discredited the science and said immunity, having your immunity, your God-given immunity is better than taking this vaccine?
Well, even that, but first of all, let me make it clear. Being a liberal, I have been shot and boosted and all of that shit. But I'm not saying anybody else should be forced to have it done to them. But I guess my stance on it is because I have no medical background, I don't feel confident suggesting that the doctors are wrong and I can just go with natural immunity. I just didn't feel confident with that. And I certainly am not in the camp. There's a lot of right wingers, particularly coming from the QAnon side of the aisle. I had a guy tell me, and actually was adamant. This was back last year. We used to talk all the time. Hardcore MAGA QAnon supporter. He believed that in December of last year, in December of 2021, most of the folks who had been vaccinated were going to be dead by December. And he seriously believed that.
I don't agree with dead. I believe in the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of stuff. I actually got a buddy of mine that's daughter worked for the CIA, and she said she had to leave the CIA and get a job while she still could down in Orlando as a cop or some type of government job so she could keep her pension and funds. That said that you were going to see things come out with children getting polio-like symptoms, hepatitis, and all these other things from the vaccine, and that she had to get off her chest. She had told her father about it. He told me, listen, and it's not QAnon, it's not Trump, it's not this and that. These are real human beings I'm talking about. My grandmother is a real human being that died like a week, 10 days after getting her booster. This is a woman that jumped out of a plane skydiving at 85 and was playing tennis 2 weeks before that. Come on, man. The numbers don't lie.
But then again, kind of on. And I see your comment, Delta. You said Fauci has been around since Ronald Reagan. Fauci is not the problem, it's Donald Trump. Ouch. Let me say this comment. This is kind of off topic, but then again, kind of on. I say this to a lot of my right wing folks who, dispel some of the things that African Americans, for instance, are protesting. Stuff like Black Lives Matter, for instance, and protesting police and shit like that. If you believe that the government is willing to give out vaccines that could potentially take the lives of a large portion of the public through a vaccine that they know is corrupt, why is it so hard to believe they may mistreat Black people? I just have asked the folks that.
Oh, I definitely don't disagree with that. You know I'm on board with that.
Okay. No, I'm just saying, I've asked people that though. Why is it so hard to believe that they may mistreat Black people when there's an actual history of that, but you can believe that they'll, for some reason, the Black people mistreatment is far-fetched and made up. But the COVID stuff, you could actually believe when there's not a lot of history of America mistreating people through vaccines. I know the syphilis incident, but that was also Black people too. And it's like, why is it so hard to believe this when there's actual history, but you're on board on this side? I didn't understand that.
Ignorance is bliss, man. Handsome, you know that. Listen, the only reason and to answer somebody's question there, I was a firefighter, but I make more money being a landscaper. Okay, let's get that. I graduate EMT school. I had a scholarship to pre-med school. So if they want to know if I got a higher education, I bet you I got a higher education and IQ than they do. Whoever said that, so they can take that home with them when they go to sleep.
Oh.
Listen.
Okay, well, you know the guests are going to bring. Let me ask you one more question because this is a response to Rep 8319 saying Trump is the best president ever. And I know you also are, obviously, with a name like Trump, train fuck Biden. You're a Trump fan. Now I'm gonna ask you this, and I'll ask all of my MAGA folks, my preferred audience. You know who I love to talk to. I'm gonna ask all of you folks this who think that Trump is the best, and I'm not arguing whether he is or not, but I'm gonna say this. Currently, Trump is touring the country suggesting that even though you have freedom of choice, he's stating that the vaccine works and he recommends you take it, but he's not going to force you to. I have to ask the question. If you truly believe that the vaccine is toxic, or like you said, in 5 years, people are going to have serious problems, how could you believe that the guy who brought you poison is the best president ever? I mean, he's the one telling you to take this, and if you believe it's poisonous, why would you suggest that the guy telling everybody to take poison is the best guy we've ever had in office?
Man, I could tell you the simple thing is that one really effed me up, bro. When I saw it on the Alabama rally, I think it was, and he said it, and he was booed. But you can also see plenty of. He did exactly say that. He did say, "Take it, it's safe. Take it, go ahead." He said, "You'll be the
Wait,
first to
wait, wait.
know if it works."
I hate to interrupt you. I hate to interrupt you. Let me stop you. This is because a comment came in. I think it's hilarious. In regards to my question, Nick Schmidt 3545 said, because I like the economy when he was in office. We're talking about poison, sir. Something that is going to kill you.
Yeah, let's
You're
go back to.
suggesting,
Let's go
oh,
back
but
to.
the
Hey,
guy gave me a good economy, so I want him back.
I
All
think
right, go ahead.
I think it don't matter what I think, I guess. But listen, I think that Trump is it was brilliant enough to listen to his advisors for a change and say, hey, listen, if you want to get the other half on board, the ones that were on the fence or just didn't trust you at all, you're gonna have to say something good about this vaccine. It's almost like when people say, oh well, he didn't listen when they was asking him at January 6th, oh please say something, please get out there on stage and say, don't storm the Capitol, please do something. I think this was kind of the, hey, if you want to get those guys on board with you, say, oh, the vaccine's great. But there's plenty of evidence that he said that he took a cocktail at the hospital where, in DC or wherever it was, that it was, and he admitted it was hydroxychloroquine, which they've tried to downplay the crap out of. And I've even asked doctors, I have a heart surgeon friend of mine that landscaped this house. My wife has taught his kids in school, blah, blah, blah. I asked him, what's your thoughts on hydroxychloroquine? He said it's a miracle drug. He said there's no side effects. There's no nothing. And this is a heart surgeon.
Okay, well, let me say this, and somebody else wants to get it, so I'm gonna give you the last word. But let me say this in regards to the idea that somebody got in Trump's ear and told him you got to say something positive. So he went on and said something positive in regards to the vaccine. That doesn't fit the narrative of Trump. If people could get in his ear and make him change his tune, he wouldn't be sending out all the tweets that hurt his presidency. It's hard to believe. The only time I can say that I genuinely believe somebody got in Trump's ear and made him change his tune is when he talked about fighting with the NRA the day after the Mandalay Bay mass shooting. And the next day, he completely changed his tune. Other than that, it is very difficult for me to believe that Trump made a statement that he actually doesn't feel that way because somebody told him to.
You
Nothing
got to
in his
listen to the
presidency
whole.
suggests that.
You got to listen to the whole video. There was more to just take the vaccine. It was really like he said it in a parable. It is a head shaker, man. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. That's one of the only things that man's ever said that made me go, "What the?" Okay. But at the end of it, it was like a parable. He said, take it. He said like sarcastically, you'll be the first to know if it works or not. I mean, you really got to listen to the video. You got to listen to the rally video of him saying it.
Well, I'm just going to say if what you're saying is true, and I have no reason to doubt it, that doesn't fit the narrative of the best leader ever. But I'm going to
It
go
does.
ahead and move it on, man. I'm going to go
Hey,
ahead and
give the
move it
glory
on.
to God, handsome. Glory to God, brother. Y'all have a great
I
night. Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much for letting me on your show, man.
Hey, anytime. Come on back. You are definitely a friend of the.
Real quick before I go to the next call, 11 butterflies. Having Johnson and Johnson. Damn, your comment got scrolled up. I wanted to read that. Shit. And then, okay. Having Johnson and Johnson at his last rally totally turned me off, to be honest. Okay. So, and by the way, Johnson and Johnson, I believe that was discontinued because of, last time I said this, they banned me. So I'm not going to get the health reason, but I've stated this before that I'm strongly in favor of you having the right to choose, because there's only been 3 of these that you can get injected with. And if one out of the 3 has been removed for medical reasons, I can't fault anybody for not trying one of the other 2. Even though, and I see your comment there, Trump won, Joey lost. Exactly. You said it was just last week, 11 butterflies. So just last week, you're suggesting he was still promoting the vaccine. My point exactly. Okay, we're going to go to this.
Pronounce the name, so we'll just have you on. Even though he was an awful name, Trump Train is a good. I like Trump Train. I really like Trump Train, and I have no problem. Hang on a second, Lau. I can't pronounce your name, but hold on one second. I have no problem with the names of folks. I got privilege. Whitey comes through sometimes. Modern colonizer. Hey, like I said, this is a free speech, no snowflake zone. You get to say what the fuck you want to say here. Nobody's going to ban you here, unless social media. Shout out to Elon Musk and his future endeavors, but we don't do that here. Okay, caller, there's no way I'm gonna be able to pronounce that, so I'll just go ahead and say good evening to you. What's up?
What's up? You can call me Lau. I just
All of that can be summed down into one syllable. Are you sick? Lyle. Okay, we'll go with that.
yeah. I just
What's
want
up?
I just want to come here and talk about the vaccine.
Be cautious because social media can be hard on that. But what you want to say about it?
So my granddaughter, she took the vaccine, and 2 months later she ended up in the hospital. So um, I don't know what to tell you. And ever since then, I never took the vaccine. Uh, and she took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
What was the diagnosis at the hospital, and how has she turned out since? And if you don't mind, what is the age of your daughter?
Yeah, she's around 2027. It was blood
No,
clot. The
but
Johnson & Johnson
okay,
vaccine, the blood clot.
okay, which is exactly what they ended up getting taken. So 27-year-old female with blood clots, which is like I said, that's exactly why they stopped producing it. So has she turned out okay? I mean, have they got this under control?
Yeah, she's recovering. But I'm very skeptical of getting the other
Yeah.
just because of that. And I'm a healthy guy. Never got COVID. Um, and yeah, like I don't know what to tell you. Like self, I never got COVID, and I never really wear a mask unless I had to. Uh, and but I want to get your thought on the vaccine mandate because
Okay, before you do that, folks, tap the screen. I'm trying to get up to 20,000 likes. Y'all can send me out properly. A lot of patriots in here. 20,000. I need that. Tap your screen. Okay, what is the question you're asking me, Lyle?
I was asking about the vaccine mandate.
Okay.
Yeah, I just
There,
do
vaccine. Okay, now
you
now
think that
government wise, there is no vaccine mandate. So who are you? You talking about employers or who's mandating the vaccine?
uh, the government
Are we talking about state government, city? Where are you talking? Because
the government
nationally, you don't have to get the vaccine. So what level of government are you talking about?
federal government?
There's no federal. If you yourself have not been vaccinated, you just said that. So if there's a federal mandate, you would be in violation of the law. So
Not
clearly,
not
there's no federal mandate.
not for me.
Then what? Okay, when you say a federal mandate, federal includes everybody under the jurisdiction of the United States. You have not been vaccinated, so you would be in violation of the law. That's what I'm saying. What federal mandate are you talking about? Federally, every citizen in America does not have to get the vaccination, so there's
No
no federal mandate.
workers. I was looking it up. Biden uh made it mandatory for federal workers to get vaccinated.
Okay.
To leave
Now
the
that's
military.
different. That's different. That's different. Okay, now in regards to now you're talking about an employer mandate. I
Yeah,
I support you having a right to choose whether you want to be vaccinated or not, but I don't limit the freedom of choice only at the citizens. I believe employers and shop owners and businesses should also have a freedom. If they want to only have vaccinated people in their business or employed by them, I believe they should have that choice as well. I would suggest that if you don't want to be vaccinated, don't work for that company. No different than if you
yeah.
join the military and they're going to deploy you somewhere, they require you get certain vaccines. If you don't get those vaccines, you're going to have adverse reactions from the military. There are certain jobs you have to get jabs. You don't have to work there though. You have the freedom to leave that employer. So if you don't want to get jabbed, just quit and move on.
Well, which I did. I had to quit my last three jobs, and it's really hard to find a job when most of them they're asking for, proof of vaccination, and and I don't have that, and it's so hard to get a job. And I'm right now I'm a contractor for the FedEx because I'm trying to get a full time job, and they require you to get the job.
Well, you have to look at it this way. If they're trying to work, go ahead, go ahead.
I said with my religion, like, religion purposes, and some of them deny. I'm trying to get a religion, because with my religion I can't really get the vaccine. So I'm
I don't.
trying to find a loophole.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work. In Trump train, you're saying it's called an ultimatum. Anytime you go work for an employer, there's all kinds of ultimatums. They can make you piss in a cup at random. You don't have any say so over that. They can. I mean, yeah, that's the way it is. And it's like Slapper Bar Sammy said, "What happened to my body, my choice, like abortions?" I just stated you don't have to get vaccinated. You can just simply get up and leave. You can
But
just like you're in favor of states' rights. Well, this is employer rights. Just get up and leave that employer. Now, what you're saying there, Lyle, about wanting to go work for FedEx, you have to understand that FedEx is trying, or any company, they're trying to limit their own personal liability. And if they start hiring folks who have not been vaccinated, now you got a non-vaccinated, let's say a non-vaccinated person comes in there and starts contaminating the workforce. We can argue whether or not how you feel about that, or if Fauci's wrong, or whatever argument you want to say. I'm just simply saying at the end of the day, they want an effective workforce. And if everybody's getting sick because you're just letting anybody walk in here, that affects their bottom line. That affects their bottom line. So you can't blame them for listening to the medical community that's telling them your workforce is safer or better off if you got everybody vaccinated. They're not doctors. This is the same thing from the liberal standpoint. I was telling Trump Trade on the last call. I'm not a physician. I'm going to take the advice of somebody who knows more than me. Does that mean they're always right? No, but they know more, has studied more, and is certified more than I am. So I'm going to take that. And that's what chances are the CEO of FedEx and some of these other companies you're talking about, they was presented this information from, the CDC, the FDA, and most likely the higher up doctors at FedEx told them, this is what you should do. What are they going to do? Say, no, we're not going to do any of this because Lyle wants to come in here without the vaccine?
well, there's I looked it up. There's two exceptions. Health condition. You don't have to get the jab, and religion exception. So I'm trying to get religion exception from my
What are you
church.
trying to you trying to be Pocahontas? You trying to pretend like you religious? You sound like Pocahontas. You sound like Elizabeth Warren lying on a law application. You go fake religion so that you can. I get your point though. I just
I
had to
mean,
laugh.
I
You
don't
pulling
really
the
go.
Pocahontas right now.
I don't really go to church.
I know.
So I'm trying to get
You are
a
not.
religion
Ex-
exception.
Exactly my point. You're not really Native American. You just want to get into law school. You're being Pocahontas. I don't know if you get the reference, but clearly the audience does. But I'm just simply saying, faking religion. You let me know if when you do that, you start hearing thunder and lightning outside. I think it might be advisable to pay attention to the sky when you do that.
Well, my Baptist pastor say he might be able to help me out this coming Sunday. So I'm gonna go check out church and give them some donation. That might help me out.
Let me ask you this question: what religion are you, if you don't mind asking?
Uh,
You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer.
I mean, I'm a Christian, but I don't really go.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. I just thought that was really funny that you said I'm gonna use religion because that's straight out of Pocahontas' law book. Okay, fair enough. Well, I'll just say good luck to you, man. If you don't want to be vaccinated, you shouldn't have to be. I'm a strong proponent of free choice. But like I said, my level of free choice also extends to the employers and business owners. I think that just like you should have a choice, they should also have a choice. And if you walk into their business and say, I can work here whether I'm vaccinated or not, you're taking away their free choice in favor of your own. So I'm in favor of everybody having free choice. I'll let you go ahead and wrap it up. I got somebody else trying to get in, but go ahead and give you the last word.
Okay, I mean the main reason I'm not gonna get vaccinated is because the if you look up the data, there's more people dying that got vaccinated. You know that which is dangerous. And I don't know if people are not doing their research, but you get the jab and you're in the hospital, like, why would, like, what's the purpose? Why do you have to get the vaccine, and and it doesn't protect you, and you have to worry about someone like me who never got the vaccine.
Okay.
Doesn't
Okay, fair. And that is your choice. I don't have a problem with that. I will just say this though, in regards to folks saying do your research. I don't think there is enough time in my daily endeavors for me to do as much research as somebody like Dr. Fauci. I just don't. I mean, and I'm not saying that Dr. Fauci is some kind of hero or something, but I'm just simply saying no matter how much research I do, that guy has done more. I mean, he is a virologist for like 40. I mean, he was researching viruses when I was still in diapers. So I don't know. I mean, and I'm not saying that he's a saint. I'm not saying somebody said he's a murderer. I'm not saying that he's a saint or anything like that. But and let's just say Dr. Fauci is the boogeyman. I get that. But the vast majority of the medical community was in line behind him. There are some dissents. There are some medical folks who are saying they're not pro-vaccine, but the overwhelming majority of them are. And if I do research, it's going to keep taking me to more members of the medical community that are suggest. I mean, when there's very few hospitals during the mask era that you could go to where masks were not required in hospitals. So, what kind of research am I going to do that's going to top all of the hospitals of the nation? Go ahead.
Wait, well, with Dr. Fauci, I really think he's working with I really think Dr. Fauci is working with the Chinese Communist Party, and and his message has been flip flopping. One minute he tells you to wear a mask, the other minute he tells you to not wear a mask. You know, he's just as confused as those politicians.
Okay. All right, fair point. And Dr. Fauci did change his tune several times. That's a fair point. Okay, well, let me go ahead and move on. Like I said, I'm going to listen to the medical community, but you have the freedom to make your own decision. Hey, come on back through. You're one of the first time callers. Come on back through, man. Yeah,
I
go
appreciate
ahead.
it.
Yeah. Hey,
God bless.
no, not a problem. Not a problem. Good evening.
Have a good evening. Okay, we got a couple more. I'm gonna wrap it up soon.
And the party's still going. I suppose you could get me to 25,000 likes if you really wanted to. Rocket 74. What up?
Oh, not much, man. I guess the gentleman that was
I'm
before
assuming.
me, it's called a religious exemption. I don't know if he could paragraph that and put that in a complete sentence and complete it all the way through. And some of the research, some of the things he actually dug into, as being on the same plane as this gentleman, that's not right. But anyway, just want to get down to basically the point that I always try to make. Everybody's talking about the jab, not the jab, whatever. No one ever wants to go back to the beginning on how this stuff actually got arbitrated, got started, where it began. And my biggest argument to this day, and I've done research after research and research after it, I come down with the Delta variant when it first came out in the first 3 weeks. Okay. I lived through it. It was living hell. Okay. I tested positive 3 more times within a 4-month period, positive for COVID, even though I had no symptoms, no fever, no nothing. Right. So
Wow.
you break this virus down into its basic form, and they're just talking about mask mandates and everything else. Some finger needs to be pointed at somebody on the origins of this virus, and coming from a wet market, in China is bullshit. Sorry, excuse my language, but it is at this point. You could Google everything you want on this virus and the origins of it. It's always going to deflect you to something else or something else. There's no true evidence other than 3 articles that I found. This is absolutely 110% a genetically engineered disease, or excuse me, not disease, but virus. I will tell you why. Number
I
one,
think I think most
go
people
ahead, sir.
believe that, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, in the genetic sequence, you have what's called DNA and RNA, right? Okay, now the difference between DNA and RNA would be, can you tell me what that is, sir?
I know what DNA is, but I don't know what RNA is. So
RNA is ribonucleic acid inside the cell. So when it basically, if a virus invades that cell structure, okay, and it takes it over, it leaves an imprint on that cell. Now, when you come down with the flu, okay, it's not going to show up that you're positive for the flu 2 to 3 months later, right? So this is a manipulation inside the genetic material inside the cell, right?
Okay.
So that's why I tested positive
Okay.
2 more
Well,
times, several
in
times
fairness,
after that, and I never got the jab.
okay. Well, in fairness of keeping it interesting, don't get too technical because you will throw. Okay, give me number 2.
Well, number 2 is, there's always somebody that's always messing around with something, trying to interject this type of species and study this type of virus, right? And it don't take a whole lot of, uneducated bunch of morons that's in a laboratory that's messing around with a bunch of stuff that's not, extremely cautious, you know, and not sanitizes their entire cells. Basically, is if you're in the military, and you go into a combat zone, you have a chemical warfare,
Okay.
basically an
All right.
entire outfit that you're going to wear, to fight certain
Right.
elements, whether it be
Sure.
mustard gas and so on. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
Let me stop you. Let me stop you for one quick because this came in. This is a comment from Don Shiver in the comments. He said, "I'm a coroner and I'm against vaccines. I've seen so many deaths days after getting the jab. What do you that? I mean, wow. I just saw that in the comments and wanted to throw that at you.
well, my simple rebuttal to this gentleman is look, this there was no FDA trials for a long extended period of time on this vaccination. It's not like it's for all the other viruses that we've tuberculosis and all the other flu shots and everything else that has been done research on for a long number of years and a long time with trials to see how successful and what the side effects are. We pushed this thing through as fast as we possibly could to combat this virus to get it under control, right? So it kind of makes you kind of speculate to a degree. Well, if you have certain comorbidities, and you're overweight, diabetes, and so on, and you're at a certain age, you have COPD and so on, you're looking at a death rate that's higher in a demographic going upwards toward that ladder as far as
All right.
death
Well,
mortality rates. You know what I mean? So whether or
right.
not someone gets a jab, I mean, that's up to you. But as far as people dying from getting the jab, I would say there's probably more people that's died from the actual virus itself than actually has got the jab, and that's just coming from who's
Oh,
a very,
yeah,
very, very,
I
very
absolutely, yeah, I
extremely
absolutely.
conservative gentleman.
Yeah, I absolutely do believe that more folks died from the actual COVID than getting the jab. Getting the jab has made a lot of folks sick, but yeah, there's no way in the world I'm gonna believe that more folks died from the vaccine than died from the vaccine than COVID itself. Yeah, there's no way. But there's a lot of folks who believe that adverse effects from the vax. What the hell is that? I appreciate that. A lot of folks believe adverse effects from the vax won't take place for years. I believe I had someone on one of the guests on a little while ago that said 5 years or so. He believes a lot of things are going to happen.
Well, and then again, in with this jab that you take in your shoulder, your butt, arm, wherever the heck the gods they place it, because I've never got one. I like to consider myself have a natural immunity to it, but there's still a trace of that genetic material that has been manipulated by Pfizer. These are medical experts that are in there, getting in there, going down to the basic genome, breaking down the genetics of this virus, right? So basically what you're doing is when you take that jab, it replicates itself. So it flows through your bloodstream, goes through every cell, through every major organ upon your body. So, that's why I say it was genetically engineered, because there has been a lot of folks, even one of my personal friends, a friend of my wife's, when she got the jab from Johnson & Johnson, had a nasty, nasty reaction to it. So,
Okay.
like I said, it
Well,
leaves a mark on your RNA, and which is basically
okay.
it leaves a mark on your genetic imprint. So, I mean, I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's but we don't want to get
All
down
right.
to the core figure of it because we
Yeah,
don't want to point the finger at China.
yeah, you're not. It's hard to get in the core because the average citizen cannot inspect their own RNA. But listen, I want to go ahead and move it on. I'm not dispelling your statement because, like I said, it's way more technical than the average American can even prove. I mean, if you want to prove that your RNA has been affected, most Americans do not have the medical tech. Well, we don't even have the medical technology to see our own DNA, and certainly not the RNA that what you're talking about. Not saying that what you're saying may not be valid. I'm just simply saying that is far more technical than the average American can even investigate. So let me move it on, though. I'll let you go ahead and get the last word in, and it is what it is, man.
Oh,
We're in
nothing
a
much.
different time now.
Sir, this is just research I've done. My wife is a registered nurse, and I'm a retired sergeant major from the Marine Corps. So, on that note, this is what I've looked up and what I've studied because I like to break things down. And if you do some research long enough on something, you're going to come to a logical conclusion on where something began and where it ends.
All right. Fair enough. Come on back to
Hey,
Champ. Feel free to follow the program, man.
no problem, sir. Great dialogue with
Absolutely.
you. Appreciate you having me on, sir. You have a good one, sir. Take it easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks. And folks, let me make some clear. Well, I would appreciate it. Go ahead and follow the program. You'll be notified when we're on here doing these lives. And let me say this to all of the callers. The following morning, this program is actually posted on YouTube. So if you want to hear yourself attack the host, yours truly, if you figured you made some points, it'll be given the exact same name as it is here. I believe this one is talking about Black Lives Matter and Antifa, but the same name of this program. If you go to YouTube and type in the Handsome Liberal, this program will be there, and you calling in will be on there. So feel free to let your friends hear you tear up the fucking host. That is fine. Free speech is paramount here. So all of the programs are on YouTube, so you can listen to them at your discretion. Anyway, folks, like I said, I do appreciate those who are following the program. I'm going to take one more call, and I do have to go ahead and wrap this up due to it simply in the evening, and I have to work for the man. I appreciate that, X. Says great chat. Trust me, handsome, they don't want to hear how stupid they sound, especially if they wanted to fact check. King Davey, what's up?
What's up, man? I was listening to you this afternoon, and your stuff is great, man. I have to say, I like your takes. I like people who can think rationally and not follow in other people's footsteps. You have your own way of thinking, and I appreciate that. With that
Appreciate
being
that.
said,
Good shit. Thank you.
with that being said, you were asking this afternoon if anybody had proof. Um, I don't. I don't have proof. They had a flyer on January 5th, I believe. They had that guy that was all over CNN with the CNN reporter, Jason Exer or something like that. He had a flyer out on Facebook the day before stating that they were all going to be, that he was having they were having a get together at the rally.
This is proof of what?
That Antifa was at the White House, was at the
Okay.
January
Okay.
6th.
I'm on bar with you now. I get what you're saying. All right, continue.
So, we were at the, I was actually at the field. I didn't go in. I didn't go anywhere near the place, but I was at the field. We were listening to the speech. We were there for a long time. There were people going around and telling people that to go and to go to the, I'm blanking right now, to go to the house where everybody was doing the vote. There were people going around and saying, hey, we're going to go march over there. We're going to go march over there. So there was people going around saying that. And here's the thing I find weird is that they have all these cell phone conversations. There was no cell phone service there the entire time. Every cell
Why
phone.
not?
I don't know. I did not have one bar of service the entire time we were there. Nobody did. Not me, not my fiance, nothing. Yeah. So I don't
Well, my
understand.
only thing I could think of is because there were so many folks there, you might have overwhelmed the towers. But also keep in mind, with the president being there, I mean, anything is possible with the Secret Service. Now, let me ask you, before you get into your spiel, let me ask you this. Are you under the impression that folks were actually, the breach of the Capitol building had happened while Trump was still speaking? Somebody told me that.
No, no. I mean, because we left and then it happened. Because I think the speech ended around like 1:30 or something like that. So
Okay.
it was, like I said, it was cold that day. We weren't prepared for it to be that cold, so we left. And then we were listening on the radio when we heard that people were in there. So it was, it was him. I think I'm misremembering that, but I'm pretty sure it happened while he was still talking that they started. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. My mind is blanking. You know,
And
um,
let me tell you the reason I asked that, because I have heard from folks that the breach, they were already in the Capitol building, they had already breached or been let in or however you think they got in there, and it happened while Trump was still speaking. And I have to ask the question: the Secret Service quickly ushered Vice President Mike Pence out of the building. The Republican Senate, Democrat Senate, all of them took cover. Meanwhile, Trump is a couple blocks away, still continuing to speak. And I have to ask the question: why the hell would the Secret Service let Trump continue speaking when within walking distance the Capitol building has been compromised, the Vice President has been rushed out, and all of the Congress and senators are in hiding? Why would you leave the president out there in the open, only a couple miles away? That seems real irresponsible.
yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know. And another thing that I was going to tell you also is when you went there, every block had a giant, I mean, the whole block had people selling Trump merch. So anybody could have went and bought a Trump hat and walked in, and they could have been like, well, those are MAGA supporters. So anybody could have bought a Trump hat. Anybody could have bought a Trump jacket. Anybody could have bought anything that said Trump on it, and just and started making the mess that they did. But I just think I think to go after the people who were fighting with people, go after the people who were being violent, but to put some idiot who grabbed the podium and was walking around, and that shaman guy, there's videos of him just walking around, and they're just letting him walk around, and then you put him in jail for however long.
Well,
you know
they were letting him walk around because the numbers were overwhelming at the point.
well, I
There
mean,
were it would have been, let me put it this way. You're talking about QAnon shaman or whatever. It would
shaman,
have
yeah.
been, yeah, it would have been unsafe for the Capitol Police to start handcuffing and arresting people in the middle of that. And they
but if
knew
you
that. They were greatly outnumbered.
But if you saw the video of him walking, it was him and one other guy, and I think there was two cops in the room where they were, and the one guy was just sitting chilling, and he was just walking and sat in the seat, and the cops told him to get out of the seat. So it wasn't like there was a lot of people there. It was just them two. They could have arrested them two quickly, and there was
I
nobody
don't
else
think
around.
I don't think if they had arrested one of those guys, they still have to get out the building. And outside of the building, there are Trump supporters everywhere. I don't think it would have been safe for them. They were so bogged down that arresting one dude when the whole building has been breached, like, we have more for you to do than to take this one handcuffed dude out of the building. We're trying to secure the building right now. Right here, we don't have time for you to focus on one arrest right now. That's what I believe would have been the case.
Well, here's the thing. How come Miriam Bowser refused to have extra cops there? Why did Miriam Bowser, the mayor of DC, refuse any help from anybody? They were saying that there was a letter out that said that she refused any help. Like, why would you do that? You knew it was going to be a problem. They knew that, quote unquote MAGAs were going to try to do something. So why not? Why wouldn't you have extra security around there?
But see, I would say the counterpoint to that, because some folks blame Nancy Pelosi for not having National Guard, and my counterpoint to that is, why would they need extra security in the National Guard for a peaceful protest?
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think what happened that day was wrong. What happened that day was wrong. But if you put it up against a lot of other stuff, you look at it and go, wait, you putting these people in jail, but you let other people burn down some stuff. Once again, these were idiots
Well,
that were fighting.
let me be clear in regards to the argument that other folks got away with stuff and they're going to jail. I'm black, so I know what it's like for folks to get mistreated. Okay, so I get your argument.
I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican, so I know.
Yeah. So I mean, I get your argument, but I'm just going to simply say, in regards to what happened on January 6th, I get lost because so many folks that actually were there that day are not making the same claims as a lot of folks who were not there that day.
As in, what do you mean?
Like the Antifa and Black Lives Matter stuff. To this day, President Trump has never stated that Antifa or Black Lives Matter was involved in that.
I think he's too caught up in himself and trying to get reelected. And I mean, he
Well,
was too.
maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe. But
I
Mike Pence, whose life was threatened, is not trying to get reelected, and he's not saying it either.
But here's the thing: is I don't like either side, to be honest with you. They're both garbage.
Okay.
They're all the same. No matter what quote unquote team you want to root for. Why do we just give the Ukraine another $40 billion while you got people here on food stamps? While you got people not working? While you got Americans, not being able to afford groceries? We're giving away another $50 billion to another country. Like, why? Like, I don't like, and they all voted for it.
Well, I understand your point, but that's kind of a different argument. Let me just say this in regards to. Hang on, hold on. Let me say this in regards to a comment or somebody in the comments. Slapper Bar Sammy said, "What was worse, January 6th or the riots for Black Lives Matter and Antifa?" I'll pass that question on to you, but before I say this, from what I can tell, it is literally impossible to talk about January 6th without folks reverting back to Black Lives. I don't know why, because I can definitely talk to you about Black Lives Matter without going to January 6th. But for some reason, you cannot discuss January 6th. It's literally the Irish slaves of an African American slave conversation. I cannot discuss the African Americans without somebody bringing up the Irish slaves. I don't know why, but I will ask you his question. What do you believe was worse, January 6th or the riots from Black Lives Matter and Antifa?
So here's my answer. The riots were worse, and I'll tell you why. The house it belongs to the people, okay? So that is our house. We are allowed to be in there. Are we allowed to be in certain areas? No, but that in the Constitution, it says that if we have a tyrannical government, we're allowed to overtake tyrannical government, okay?
Don't you have to offer? Sherry, thanks for those roses. I've been seeing you. Much love to you. Don't you have to offer some kind of proof that they're being tyrannical, though?
You don't think everything they're doing? They locked us up for 2 years. They said, you can't go out of your house. You can't leave. You have to wear a mask. You don't think giving away billions of dollars of our tax dollars to other countries while we're sitting here rotten? You don't think that's tyrannical?
Well, I think that's just America. We've always done that stuff. In regards to even locked us up in the house for 2 years, Trump is on record saying that he had to close the country down. I mean, and they didn't go after Trump.
Yeah, well, I don't like him for that reason. I don't like him for that reason because he did that. He was listening, and I think to be honest with you, I think his whole presidency was they weren't telling him the truth. Look at all the soldiers that were, they told him, oh, we took all these soldiers out of Afghanistan. We took all these soldiers out of this place, out of that place. And then it comes out that it wasn't true. There was more soldiers there than they let him to believe.
Then I have to ask the question, because when Trump is president, He's in control of the FBI. He's in control of the CIA, the NSA. These are his. He's the federal. He's the leader of the federal government. These are his organizations. Why are your own people lying to you? I mean,
because they didn't.
that's you can't blame that on the liberals. That's you.
Be,
These are your people. You appoint the heads of these organizations. Why are you picking people, appointing people that you can't trust?
because this man is not a politician. I mean, once again, I believe they're all in it together. I believe all those the NSA, the FBI. I believe they all have their hands in the pockets, you know. And it's like it's like TV. You know, you say the wrong thing, and they'll banish you from TV, and you no longer can make money. You know, so I
Well,
think it's the
well,
same thing.
then, if what you're saying is true, and I hate to interrupt you, but I'll say this: if what
No,
you're
bad.
saying is true, if what you're saying is true, is that they all are, corrupt and things like that. Trump came into office stating that he would drain the swamp. All of those corrupt people you're pointing out, when Trump left, they all were still there, including Dr. Fauci, Mitt Romney. I'm giving you Trump's greatest hits. Um, who else did he? Liz Cheney. All of these folks, the swamp, they all are still there. So if these folks, the ones who were suggesting that lied to Trump and all of that, if they were that bad, you have to blame Trump because he was in a position of power to remove some of these people, and they all are still there.
Well, you can't remove Cheney or Romney because they were elected. He could remove Fauci, but then you'd have the entire everybody saying that he removed Fauci because he didn't like him, and then the news and everybody would turn it around and say Trump was this, Trump was that. So he couldn't make these moves. Yeah, he's the president, but I believe also that, you know, I believe also that there's certain things that he can't do. You know,
He can
there's
remove. Well, let's be clear. When it comes to Liz Cheney being supposedly a
Rhino.
rhino or whatever, throughout Trump's presidency, he had no problem with Liz Cheney. His issues with Liz Cheney didn't happen until like the last 6 months.
Listen,
So
if you didn't bring Trump 2 scoops of ice cream, you'd have a problem with Trump. Okay, so if you know the man could turn and he's a New Yorker. He's a prick. You know, I'm from New York. I know. You know, so like the man has dealt with mobsters and you know in New York in the 70s and 80s. That wasn't a good time in New York. You know, so like and he was dealing with those people making moves. You know, so he's a jerk. He's a New York jerk, and that's the
well,
kind of thing
it,
that's the kind of way he is. He tells it like it is, and whether you like it or not, you know.
that
But
and that is fine. And this is why I always suggest, because as a businessman, if you own a business, if you're Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, or Bill Gates or somebody, you can be an asshole, you can be a jerk all you want, because at the end of the day, it's your business. And
mhm.
Trump is a very successful businessman. However, as a politician, a president, you need the Senate, you need Congress, and the judicial branch to some degree to help you implement your legislation. You cannot be a dick as a politician and succeed. And this is why I often believe that Trump would be better as a dictator than as a politician because he doesn't know how to work with people. He's used to just literally steamrolling over people, and you're not going to succeed in Washington doing that. And if he comes back in 2024 and continues on that same path, he's going to leave in 2028 with the exact same fucking problems because these senators and these Congress folks know that they ultimately have power that they can vote down your legislation. Remember John McCain with the thumbs down on his repeal and replace
Yeah.
Obamacare? Until he realizes that you can't just talk to people like shit and expect them to help you, he's not going to progress. And it's clear based on his current topics, his current conversations, his current rallies. He has not learned that yet. He's
No,
not learned that you can't just talk to people any kind of way.
and I completely agree with you. When he was running the first time, I was like, dude, why would you tweet that? Why would you say that? What are you doing? You're not going to win. Like you keep, but he just steamrolled everybody and he won, you know. And I just and then he just steamrolled world leaders, and he was just like that video of him just putting himself in the front and moving everybody, and he like that's kind of
Yes,
like
I have seen that. I've seen
I
it.
mean
So many Trump
that's
supporters.
that's kind of
Go
what,
ahead.
kind of what we need. We need somebody to say, hey, if we're going to fund your whole country, then we're first. Okay. If we're going to give you all this money, if we're giving you all our tax dollars, then we're going to come first. So if we need this, this is what we're going to do.
But
So
that's but you're talking about something on the world stage. I'm talking about in regards to us domestically. If you want to get shit done in this country, you have to work. Like we talk about Bill Clinton and Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich reaching across the aisle and balancing the budget. The reason we voted Joe Biden in office is because he was known as someone who used to reach across the aisle. He's not doing it now, but he used to. With Trump having that solid stance of not reaching across the aisle, no filter, and you're never going to. You're always going to face difficulty in Washington with that type of approach. I understand when he was elected, he was not a typical politician. But goddamn it, at this point, he is a senior in high school claiming he's not a typical student. You've already graduated. You're a student at some point. I mean, you're entering your second term. Either you get with the program or you're going to get elected again and start saying the same shit. They're fucking with me from day one. They never gave me a chance. If he doesn't evolve, he may still win in 2024. I think there's still a significant chance he could win, but he's going to bring all of that same bullshit from the past, and he's going to have the same problems in 2024.
he might, but I mean, everybody forgets that nobody on either side liked him. When at first they were like, "Yeah, Trump's going to run," and then all of a sudden everybody turned on him and was like, "No, he can't win. He can't win this." Republicans and Democrats. So a bunch of Republicans, like you said, didn't like his tact and were just like, "I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that." But I don't know
I don't
if he
think You know something? I talk to a lot of fuck your feelings, MAGA, and all of that, and folks who say you shouldn't vote based on emotion. That's fine. But I will say this: I strongly believe that most people, if somebody was treating you like shit, even if they were doing something positive for you and was constantly ridiculing you and your family, you would have an adverse reaction to them too. Let's say you needed a new roof on your house, and a guy coming down the street offered to do your roof for 90% off. But he said, while I'm here doing your roof, I'm gonna be calling your wife all kinds of names. Your kids are gonna be crying. I'm gonna insult everybody in your house on a constant basis. I think most Americans would have a serious problem with that. You're not going to tell your wife, don't worry about him calling you fat or saying that you're ugly. Just pay attention to the job he's doing. No, you're not going to tolerate that. And that's
you took
the thing is that a lot of MAGA folks expect everybody to just tolerate this guy going off on a tangent, launching personal attacks on everybody all day, every day. It doesn't work like
yeah,
that.
I completely get it, but you're forgetting that people are people, and a lot of people are cheap, and a lot of people would turn around and just be like, "Hey, honey, just listen. You're not fat. I love you, but this is only going to cost us $1,000 instead of $60,000. So, if he called you fat, just I love you. Remember that. You're going to have a
And
lot of people that would.
your wife would probably tell you, yeah, and your ass is gonna be sleeping with shingles tonight.
Listen, I didn't say I would do it. I just said there's a lot
Oh,
of people that would. I'm not stupid.
exactly. Here's my spiel or my example I often use on Trump because I think Trump was really good at running the country in terms of economics. I put it like this: let's say your dad comes home, he's got a good job, he's a real good provider. You live in a really nice house. There's food on the table every night. You got the latest toys. You and your sister and mom, everybody. Mom got the best purses and everything. He's providing really good for the house. But every time dad comes home from work, he whispers something in your sister's ear negative about you. Then he whispers something in your ear negative about your sister. He calls your mom fat and asks her if she's gaining weight all the time. So everybody in the house fucking hates each other. But they have everything. They have a really beautiful house and everything. And the dad is like, even though everybody's sitting at the dinner table pissed off with each other, the dad is like, but look at all the shit I'm buying you. Aren't you happy to be living in this nice house? You got a nice car outside. Everybody in the fucking house hates each other, though.
Are you
And
talking
that's the
about Hollywood?
situation. I'm talking about that's a comparison.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I'm not going to say you're wrong. You're absolutely
Okay.
right. I just listen. I just think here's, and I'll let you get. I'll get off here. This is my final thought is, we need to stop looking at it as two different teams, and we have to look at it as it's people who are millionaires and people who are making money off our backs are making decisions for us. It's not, white, black, red, blue. It's us, we the people. And we have to remember that it's we the people. And we shouldn't be electing people based on their fear. You think Chuck Schumer cares about you? No. You think Madison Cawthorn really cares about people? I doubt it. You think Mitt Romney cares about the everyday people? No. Most of those people are in politics, don't have another job. I mean, the only person is Rand Paul. He's a dentist. A lot of these guys don't, so they don't know. They're so out of the loop that they don't even drive themselves nowhere. They don't pick up their laundry. Their kids go to private schools. So like, we're electing all these people. For as much as I think AOC is an idiot, she was an everyday common bartender, so we have to
What do you think
remember.
before you go? What do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene? Speaking of AOC, what do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Listen, she is
Take your time.
extreme.
Take your time.
She's
Take your
extreme, but
time.
like,
Take your time.
here's the thing: she is on the right. What AOC is on the left. They're both
Thank you.
way
Thank
too.
you.
They're all way too far. Like, we have to come like Ilhan. She made a quote unquote backpack joke about Ilhan Omar. Meanwhile, you have Ilhan Omar saying that some people did some things on 9/11. Listen, can we just rein it in a little bit and realize it was a joke and maybe she misspoke? So we have to start voting for people more in the middle, and not like, if Roe versus Wade is overturned, then gay people are going to die. It's like, what? Hold on, what? Like,
Okay, I could go into a long spiel about that, but I want to move it on, so I'll leave
yeah.
it at that. But that's a good comment otherwise.
All right, man. It
All
was
right,
nice
man.
talking to you.
Absolutely. Come on through anytime. Okay, folks, I might have to wrap it up.
Some of the real quick comments here. New guest, just win, baby. I don't. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not well thought of by many Trump supporters. No, she's not helping the party out either. Milliken, she's down with Trump. She's hardcore MAGA, but no, she's extreme. She makes some of the same horrible statements and shit that Trump does, but she doesn't have Trump's um, loyalty and following. No, I don't. I'm not a big Marjorie Taylor Greene fan at all. She does a lot of misspeaking. Yeah, I guess Jewish space lasers is a definite misspeak. Ilhan married her brother. No, is that true? No. Ilhan Omar of Minnesota? No. Rand Paul is an eye doctor, but he doesn't work at it. Okay. It's kind of like saying Al Sharpton is a reverend. I say he is wrong. I am everything he said except about my two kids. They are everything I live for and work for. Okay. Fair enough, Trevor. One extreme talking about another extreme, they cancel each other out. That's fair. Matt Gates is better. Would make a good Nancy Pelosi. Read some facts. Liberals turn off the tube. Look, as far as I'm concerned, the election, some of the shit that's coming out about that is coming from the right, and there's a lot of misspeaking shit that is not facts there. Trump isn't thought of as well as he used to be. Ace of Hearts. I agree with that. I don't believe some of the elite members of the Republican Party want him to come back. So many members of his own administration have written books and issued damning stories. In fact, they're still fucking coming out. Who was the guy that was on his administration today? And I'm gonna say The View. I know you guys have no tolerance for The View, but he was a Trump administration official. They're still writing books criticizing Trump. Everybody from Ambassador Bolden to Chris Christie to Jim Barr started out with Scaramucci and fucking Omarosa. How many members of the Trump administration, people that he picked, have written books that are negative about him? That didn't happen with Obama. That didn't happen with George W. Bush or Bill Clinton. Half of the people he appointed to office have written books criticizing him. Say what you want about if you think Trump is a good president or not. I even believe he was a good president. But in terms of being able to pick and vet folks to serve on his administration, he was fucking terrible. Why did you personally pick so many people that have went on to hate you? I mean, spend more time trying to pick decent people. You could get a lot more done if your own administration wasn't constantly writing books, releasing secrets, and attacking you. And yeah, as far as him being a good person when it comes to vetting folks, he is fucking horrible at that. He would be the worst NBA scout there. He would be an NBA scout picking midgets to play for the team. That's how bad he is. And in NFL scout picking anorexic people to play on the football team. He is that horrible. He is not good at vetting people. He's good on his own. He's a good businessman. But in terms of picking other folks to help him get the job done, he is horrible. Look, folks, I have got to go. I will catch you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central. As always, you guys take care.